Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, National Samsara. Start with an Infinity Glove. Chapter 121. Opening the Mall, Chuzi saw a familiar card. Reincarnation Recruitment Card. Origin, Core God. Quality, Blue highest grade. Effect, after use, you can recruit a 1-star world reincarnation dungeon character to enter the main world and become an independent reincarnation person. After entering the main world, this dungeon character will disappear in the reincarnation dungeon world. This card allows you to stay in the reincarnation world you have experienced for a very short time, 10 minutes, to persuade recruiters. Tips: recruiting a dungeon character requires that the dungeon character and the reincarnator have a good relationship above the intimacy level. Close black lens bracket. Explanation: when you form a bond with a related character, this card allows him to fight alongside you. Price: 100 merits. Different from the recruitment card of recruiting Yao Yu, this recruitment card can only recruit dungeon characters in the 1-star world, and it only has 10 minutes of recruitment time. It can be seen from here that the long recruitment card that Yu Qingmei traded to him seems to be quite valuable. Blinking his eyes and turning off the light screen, Chuzi asked Han Mo curiously. "Brother Han, what are those little balls of light surrounding the core god?" "Those are the main towns." Han Mo raised his head and looked at the small ball of light in the sky. "It is also our last home as human beings. The last home is a bit miserable." Chuzi's tone was filled with sadness. "Yeah, it's a bit miserable." Shaking his head with a wry smile, Han Mo looked at this interesting newcomer and smiled. "However, if we work hard, it is not impossible to win the game. Now humans have established 3,598 external fortresses in the first-level world. Using the fortresses as the base, a protective network has been formed throughout the first-level world. The security of this world is still guaranteed, and we already have the capital to counterattack. One layer of the world. How many layers does this world have?" Chuzi keenly grasped the key point in Han Mo's words. "Well, there are at least 9 floors. Han Mo scratched his cheek, feeling a little embarrassed. "The 9th floor." After pondering for a moment, Chuzi raised his head. "Brother Han, do you know how to penetrate deeper into the world?" After hearing this, Han Mo was stunned. He looked at Chuzi, who looked serious, and his expression suddenly became serious. "July, I understand what you mean, but you have to remember that people have hope only if they are alive, and aiming too high will only cost you your life. If you really want to penetrate into a deeper world, just do the mission and become your military rank. Once you upgrade to a higher level, you will naturally know how to enter the next level of the world." Seeing that Han Mo was so serious, Chu knew that the other party had misunderstood. But he didn't explain, but smiled and nodded to express his understanding. "Well, you can take a walk around the fortress. There are many specialties here that are not sold in the main town. You can also choose to go out to hunt abyssal creatures. However, as a newcomer, I suggest you find someone to form a team, which is safer." After Han Mo finished speaking, he nodded to Chuzi and turned to leave. Looking at the back of the old reincarnator who acts as an instructor for newbies, Chuzi raised his head again and communicated with the Lord God. Open black lens bracket. Real mission, start, close black lens bracket. It is detected that your military rank is private. The tasks available are as follows. 1. Daily cleanup. Go to the abyss projection point 50 kilometers away and kill 20 abyss beasts. Reward: 20 meritorious deeds. 2. Investigation. A suspicious black shadow appeared in the mine outside the 79 announcement. Go and investigate the identity of the black shadow. Reward: 25. 3. Resource collection. Go to the original energy lake 83 kilometers away and collect the original energy crystals at the bottom of the lake. Reward: 10 merits, 1 kilogram. 4. Repair. The electromagnetic pulse cannon number 25 to 38 outside the number 98 fortress is damaged, and requires the participation of reincarnators from the science and technology stream mechanical system to repair it. Reward: 5 merits. Turret 1. 5. Hunting. Go to the Abyss Demon Army camp 1,000 kilometers away and kill the lowest level Abyss Demon soldier. Tip: the Abyss Demon is powerful, intelligent, and extremely dangerous. It is recommended to form a team to carry out the mission. Reward: 80 meritorious deeds. Looking at the densely packed tasks on the task list, Chuzi had a thought. Check out the 10th, Earth, main, and 5th link. The mission was accepted successfully. Close black lens bracket. Tip: Reincarnators, please pay attention to the countdown to the modification time. Before the countdown comes, please return to the outside fortress and teleport. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Ding. Close black lens bracket. The external map is loaded. Close black lens bracket. Reincarnators can activate the map function by activating the reincarnation brand. Close black lens bracket. The current military rank of the reincarnator can activate the map around number 98 outer fortress. Close black lens bracket. When the beep fell, a small light spot appeared in Chuzi's perspective. This light spot was somewhat similar to the light screen of the Supreme Lottery system, which could be hidden or revealed. With a thought, the light spot suddenly jumped out and turned into a translucent light screen that appeared in the upper right corner of his sight. There is a detailed map in the light screen, and he himself is represented by a light point on the map. This map can also be zoomed. The map can be zoomed into a geographical map. The smallest one can only show the appearance of a nearby 10-meter range. It looks a bit like a game map, simple, practical and clear at a glance. After zooming in on the map, Chuzi judged his position and walked towards the gate. He has no interest in forming a team or anything. Ordinary 3-star reincarnations are just a hindrance to him. The stronger 4 stars are not in the first-level world. Therefore Chuzi can only choose to go alone. After walking through the somewhat empty hall and the long corridor, Chuzi arrived at the exit. This is a metal door that shines with various lights. There is a panel next to the door. The shape of the panel is very familiar. It is the panel used to sense the brand of reincarnation. Chuzi raised his wrist and swiped at the panel. A line of information appeared on the panel. Codename: July. Military rank: Private. Authorization completed. Laugh. There was a slight sliding sound, and the door opened to both sides, revealing a space of about 10 square meters. At the other end of the space, there was another door. When you walk into this space, the door behind you closes and the door opposite opens. What comes into view is another such space. Just like this, I passed through such a space step by step. Chuzi passed through the last particularly heavy door. Finally arrived at the legendary small outside world. A darkness came into view. The world is much darker than the one seen from the observation window of the outside fortress. The world seems to be covered with a layer of fog. After taking a slight breath, you will feel an inexplicable substance entering the body and wanting to stay. However, it was easily wiped out by Junwoo Gangchi and transformed into a pure energy integrated into itself. Chuzi's eyes lit up when he felt so. He took a big breath and sucked all the air within 100 meters into his body. Zitsa. There was a sound like an electric spark flashing, and Chuzi opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of dim gray mist. Feeling as if his Junwoo Gangchi had received a great tonic, it suddenly increased a bit. Chuzi grinned. Strong enough. Chuzi also didn't expect that some kind of energy contained in the outside air could enhance Junwoo Gangchi. If there is anything bad to say, 883, is that the atmosphere from the outside world is a bit too choking. Sucks my throat from smoking too much. Let's first see what the so-called ferocious beasts of the abyss are all about. Open the task panel and use Tianqi's guidance function. An arrow appears on the map panel. Take out Fenrir Wolf from the storage space and sit on it. Chuzi put on the eyepiece and turned the throttle. The roar of the engine was heard. Fenrir Wolf's wide tires splashed a big cloud of smoke and dust on the ground, and Chuzi flew away. Boom. Huge roars continued. The streaks of azure energy were like cannonballs, hitting a giant beast that resembled a rhinoceros, but was covered with tusks and its hard skin was covered with spikes. These powerful beasts staggered back, but they only blew off some of the spikes on their hard skin and were unable to cause fatal damage to them. Although he can't die, the pain is still there. The giant beast that had been bombarded for a long time roared like an ox but not an ox, and its whole body was ignited with black and purple arrogance. Like an out-of-control locomotive, it moved its thick and heavy hooves towards the Qigong wave that was being released. The man rushed over. Don't even think about it. There was a loud shout, and a figure wearing thick steampunk-style armor jumped out with thick black smoke. Lifting up the thick riveted armor, he grabbed the giant beast's thick horns. Boom. The huge impact caused the ground beneath his feet to suddenly collapse, plowing out 2 deep ravines. Stop it! Accompanied by a savage roar, the armor on this steampunk-style man was overloaded, and every meshing gear became overheated and red. The surging power exploded, and it was able to withstand the brutal collision of the giant beast. Horse riding. It's really exciting. Isn't the sniper ready yet? The steampunk dude looked at the vacuum tube that had consumed most of its energy and shouted loudly through the speaker. Your final chapter is coming. On a cliff hundreds of meters away, a man carrying a huge gun put his eyes on the cross mark of the scope. In his perspective, there was a bloody red dot on the head of the abyss beast. Weakness strike. Die. Aiming the crosshair at the bloody red dot, the man pulled the trigger. Boom. The suppressor of the huge sniper rifle sprayed out 2 streams of white smoke with sparks. A huge warhead, as long as the palm of your hand, spun rapidly and broke through circles of sound barrier clouds, accurately hitting the abyss beast below. Puff! The huge bullet penetrated through the bone depression above the beast's eye, and then passed through the eye on the other side of the head. The spray of plasma and brain tissue caused this giant beast to lose consciousness instantly. He fell heavily to the ground. Phew! Finally dead. Released his hands that were grasping the giant beast, the steampunk brother opened the shield of his visor, and hot white air poured out from his visor. The overloaded heat caused the temperature inside his armor to soar to 60 degrees. If his physique hadn't been strong enough, he might have collapsed from heatstroke by now. Gudong. He took out a bottle of water from the storage space, drank half of it in one gulp, and poured the rest on his head to cool down. This unshaven, middle-aged man who looked a little decadent had finally calmed down. In this way, we can complete the mission by killing 19 more heads. The man on the other side who released Qigong waves also came over. He is also an uncle, with 3 long beards and a fairy-like appearance, but he wears a nondescript martial arts uniform. Lead them here one by one, and then kill them. Finally, the voice carrying a spear came over. He was a thin man with a shiny bald head and a mean face with high cheekbones. Well, without further ado, let's go quickly. At this time, the steampunk uncle had already added fuel to his steam armor, and looked at the vacuum tank that had returned to full value. He pulled down the mask and walked towards the valley in the distance with heavy steps. There is the abyss transmission point, and what is projected is the abyss beast called the demon-armored giant rhinoceros. That's the giant rhinoceros just now. This ferocious beast has no other abilities, but is thick-skinned and good at destroying buildings. In order to prevent the number of such ferocious beasts from being too large and impacting the external fortress not far away, the core main god has always been tasked with cleaning up this kind of monster. Not long after, the 3 of them arrived at the valley with the breath of the magic-armored giant rhinoceros. But what caught their eyes was not the bustling scene of hundreds of magic-armored giant rhinoceros running wildly in the past. Instead, it fell into a black and ashes of deathly silence. In this valley, except for ashes, all the magic-armored giant rhinos mysteriously disappeared. What's the situation? The steampunk uncle was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. He turned to look at his companions and found that they were also confused. Have no idea. After coming back to his senses, Uncle Qigong stroked his beard. Why don't we go back to the fortress and report first? At least I haven't seen this situation before. Good idea. The steampunk uncle was the first to nod in agreement. The sniper uncle on the other side also nodded silently. The 3 people who reached a consensus took out an off-road vehicle, started the vehicle and drove away. 4.9. Hey, it feels so good to snap your fingers. At this time, in another direction, on Chuzi's left infinity glove, a vein of light was retracting to the infinity stone. Just now, Chuzi snapped his fingers for a long time and instantly killed all the magic-armored giant rhinos in the valley. A giant rhinoceros contributed 0.1 merit to him, and now he has 58.9 merit points. Through the system panel, Jins knew that 100 meritorious deeds were required to upgrade a private to a superior soldier. As long as he completes all real-life tasks, he can be promoted to the level of a superior soldier, and the points will be exceeded and used directly for advancement to the next military rank. By understanding, Chuzi already knows. To advance in military rank, you need to obtain the total value of merit, rather than consuming merit to advance. Therefore, no matter how much merit he gets, he can spend it freely without worrying about delaying his promotion in military rank. The outside world is the most suitable place for free expression. Experiencing the thrill of instant kill, Chuzi clenched his fist and his figure was swallowed by the space wormhole. The light flickers. When Chuzi appeared again, he had arrived at the mine where the second real-life mission was located. Looking at the place shrouded in thick black fog, Chuzi knew with a guess that there was definitely a big guy hiding inside. While he was thinking, the black fog shrouding the mine suddenly rolled up, and 2 red lanterns lit up in the black fog. The 2 lanterns rose higher and higher, finally breaking through the black fog blockade. Only then did Chuzi discover that the 2 red lanterns turned out to be the eyes of a big snake. This giant snake, which is as big as a train, not only has a large and terrifying body shape, but also has a terrifying and frightening shape. Its body is covered with layers of pitch-black scales. If you look closely, you will find that each of his scales is covered with twisted and painful faces. These faces have gaping black mouths and empty eye holes, like a cry of pain. Makes your scalp numb. Just when Chuzi saw these faces, the eye holes of these faces suddenly lit up with a little red light that looked like eyeballs. These red lights turned their eyes in unison and came into contact with Chuguai's eyes. In an instant, countless emotions of resentment, pain, and despair came like a tide, trying to be injected into Chuzi's spirit through sight. However, at this moment, the mind stone of the infinity gauntlet in Chuzi's left hand suddenly flashed. Chuzi's eyes suddenly flashed with black and red arrogance. How dare you try your best even though you are a trivial person? Give me a blast. The cathartic killing intent, boosted by the mind stone, instantly surged to a terrifying level. At the same time, the jade dish of creation in Chuzi's sea of consciousness shook slightly, and a black and red star suddenly lit up with flames of the same color. The black-red flames instantly dyed the entire jade plate black, and then converged into an extremely condensed thin line that penetrated Chu-Tu's sea of consciousness. There, the Shangqing Dao seal is shining brightly. Call. This thin line composed of regular rules was wrapped around the Shangqing Dao seal, causing it to continuously twist and deform, and finally turned into an array. A formation composed of 4 long swords. In the center of the array, there is a simple and desolate rune. The meaning of this rune is simple. Destroy. Destroy. Represents the law of destruction of the Great Destruction. After condensing this rune, the thin black and red threads that had weakened and almost disappeared suddenly spread out, turning into a thin layer of invisible light that blended into Chuzi's body. As this ray of light blended in, Chuzi's body suddenly shook. A jet of black and red arrogance suddenly burst out. Bang bang bang. All changes seem to take a long time, but in fact they only take an instant. Chuzi's swelling murderous intent turned into an even more terrifying aura of destruction in an instant. Facing the counterattack of this aura, the terrifying giant snake came and let out a fierce howl. The next second, its body was like a string of lit firecrackers, exploding from bottom to top, eventually exploding into a pitch-black snake bone without any flesh and blood. After blinking, Chuzi's eyes suddenly converged. He looked at the snake bones in front of him and flicked his fingers casually. A vacuum bomb struck the skeleton. Brush. Like an object that has been corroded for thousands of years, the snake collapsed halfway into a puddle of ashes. It turned out that the series of explosions just now not only destroyed the flesh and blood of his body, but also turned his bones into ashes. There are new changes. However, Chuzi didn't pay too much attention to the status of the giant snake. He was now feeling the great purity Dao seal that changed drastically in the sea of consciousness. In other words, this formation can no longer be called the Supreme Purity Seal, but has become something more powerful and high-end. With a thought, the attribute panel popped up, and Chuzi found that he had acquired a brand new skill. Hunyuan True Chapter remaining. Origin. Outside world. Quality. Dark gold the most superior. Attribute 1. Bongtian Visualization Technique. By visualizing the destruction runes, the 4 innate sword souls of Zushin, trap a mortal, killing a mortal, an absolute immortal are condensed to form the Zushin sword formation to completely release the power of destruction. The power of destruction can pass through it can be released in various ways such as energy, physical body, spirit, spiritual thoughts, momentum, etc., causing absolute irreparable damage to the target. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 2. Needs to be activated by integrating the power of special laws. Attribute 3. Needs to be activated by integrating the power of special laws. Attribute 4. Needs to be activated by integrating the power of special laws. Attribute 5. Needs to be activated by integrating the power of special laws. Explanation. A special skill that incorporates the essence of the avenue of destruction in the jade disk of creation, silk, but the endpoint of this skill is more than that. Close black lens bracket. In addition to this skill, the effect of the reorganized Killing Intention Wave Thunder Fist has also changed. Killing Intention Wave Thunder Brilliance Fist. Origin. Outside world. Quality. Silver Gray Superior. Level. LV1. Attribute 1. Murderous Intention Tempering Body. The murderous intention wave contains the aura of destruction, which can strengthen the body's strength and reaction speed, and obtain the Shira martial body effect. The stronger the murderous intention, the greater the increase. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 2. Blood Hell Thunder, a fusion of the destructive power of killing intent and thunder escape chakra, with powerful lethality and better defense, and a powerful bonus to thunder skills. The effect is to obtain an absolute killing effect and cause injuries that cannot be cured. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 3. Overlord of Fists, when attacking with bare hands, the lethality is plus 50%. When attacking, the special effect of destruction is added, which increases the critical damage by 1000%. Obtain the ultimate secret of killing. Destruction Shenglong Fist, Destruction Hao Whirlwind, the killing wave of Hao, the true instant prison kill, the true thunder prison armor. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. You are the strongest at distance, close at hand, Akuma. Close black lens bracket. The law of destruction, it is indeed the case. The reawakening of the law of destruction was both unexpected and expected by Chu Zi. When the martial arts heroes were massacred in the Wuming world, he felt a slight throbbing. It's just that he didn't arrive first. The law of destruction he activated not only allowed him to comprehend a brand new skill. At the same time, his murderous intent wave, Leiwang Fist, was strengthened. What's even more perverted is that this newly acquired Hunyuan True Chapter turns out to be a multi-rule hybrid skill. Chu Zi is very curious about how high this skill can be upgraded if he can fully comprehend it. But I can only think about this kind of thing at the moment. It's not that easy to activate. At least for now, at least two conditions must be met to activate a certain rule. 1. Have a technique that resonates highly with this rule. 2. Use powerful enough props to activate this rule. Of course, if your props are powerful enough and can bless yourself, you can still activate the great rules in the Jade Disk of Creation even without any skills. Just like time manipulation, it is the combination of the demonic Time King armor and the Time Treasure that allows Chu Zi to control the power. But this condition is much more difficult than the way to activate the technique. At least Chu Zi doesn't know when his next lottery will start and what equipment he will be able to draw after it starts. I don't know if these two techniques of mine can activate the rules of the avenue. Chu Zi's eyes flashed as he looked at his Shantian Wubaojian and the Great Sun Tathagata Sutra. He felt that there was a great possibility that these two techniques could activate the rules of the Great Road. However, the current levels of these two skills are quite different, with only a pitiful LV3. This was the level he gained while fighting in the vampire world. After completing the real task, go back to retreat. Looking at his skill level, Chu Zi made a plan for the next practice. Then he clenched his fist and the figure disappeared from the place. The resource gathering missions are lackluster. Chu Zi searched the bottom of the lake and only found 3 kilograms of raw energy crystals. During this period, he also killed 3 giant abyssal crocodiles that lived in the Yuanong Lake. Gained 6 points of merit. After that, he activated the Infinity Gauntlet and came to the Abyss Demon Army camp where the final mission was. It's so strict. Is this the Demon of the Abyss? On a cliff not far from the Demon Barracks, Chu Zi overlooks the existing military barracks. It is a small fort covering an area of over 10 acres. Towering walls, sharp horses, huge crossbows, and demon soldiers patrolling the walls. Everything is explained. The Abyss Demons are an aggressive race of intelligent beings. These guys are generally over 2 meters tall. The skin is dark and rough, the muscles are strong, and the eyes are bloody, showing violence and mania. Most of the Abyss Demons only have an apron made of animal skin. But judging from the cold light reflected from the scales on their bodies, we can tell that these guys are definitely not fallible by ordinary weapons. Compared to the simplicity of clothing, the weapons of these abyss demons are quite sophisticated. Greatsword, broadsword, battle axe, heavy hammer. All the weapons were polished to a gleaming look, and you could tell at a glance that they were sharp weapons for killing people. Just when Chuzi was observing the abyss demon, a creature with wings on its back in the sky had locked onto him. This is also an abyss demon. But compared to other abyss demons, his figure is much thinner, only about 1.9 meters tall. But the equipment on him is much stronger than other abyss demons. His body is equipped with a set of exquisite leather armor, with shimmering metal armor inlaid on vital parts. A broad short sword hung on his waist, and in his hand he held a giant bow made of all metal. This giant bow was about the same height as him, and its dark surface was inlaid with purple crystals. At this time, he was slowly opening the giant bow in his hand. A dark purple energy arrow was manifesting on the giant bow, and finally condensed into a huge arrow with substance. Death, human being, abyssal language, collapse. The bowstring trembled. This energy arrow shot out silently. The arrows, which were 10 times the speed of sound, destroyed all sounds in their path. Almost instantly, he had already arrived in front of Chuzi. Hey, facing the fatal blow, Chuzi simply flicked his fingers. A space wormhole appeared in front of him and swallowed the energy arrow directly. The next second, another space wormhole appeared behind the abyss demon. A dark purple energy arrow appeared from the wormhole, penetrated the guy's body on the spot, and quickly fell to the ground with his body. What's going on? Abyssal language. An expression of disbelief appeared on the ugly face of the abyss demon. He really couldn't understand how this human being could transfer his arrow through this method of space transfer. You must know that he uses arrows condensed with high concentrations of abyss magic. This kind of arrow's interfering power in space is not afraid of space defense methods such as space deflection. But today, not only was his arrow blocked using space means, but the original arrow was also returned to him using the most ridiculous method of space transfer, Nuo Wang Jiao. How could this abyss demon accept this? Boom. But the facts are before our eyes, and it's useless not to accept them. The demon pierced by the arrow fell from the sky and was directly nailed to the open space between Chuzi and the demon barracks, making a big hole. At this time, the guards in the abyss demon barracks also discovered the demon. Lord Toto's abyssal language. They screamed in horror, quickly opened the door, and rushed towards the winged abyss demon. Snapped. At this time, a clear finger snap sounded. The word spread throughout the ears of all the abyss demons. The next second, these abyss demons, together with the barracks behind them, turned into black ashes, drifting in the wind and disappearing in place. Phew. Back. Space rotates. Chuzi appears in Samsara Square. Looking at the familiar appearance of the square, he actually felt like he was back home. Although I didn't stay outside for long in total. But the outside environment is harsh enough. Really not suitable for permanent residence. Open the communicator and try to contact Yao Yu. There was a busy beep. Chuzi shook his head and put away the communicator. Yao Yu's failure to return did not surprise him. After all, he stayed in the outside world for less than a day in total. Go and practice. Chuzi, who was inactive for the time being, decided to go to practice first. His experience in the outside world made him realize the potential of the jade dish. Knowing this, of course he would not waste time on boring things like improving his military rank. Having been promoted to the rank of private, he felt that the products in this military rank mall were a bit rubbish. Of course, we do not rule out the possibility that the real good things are in higher level malls. Before practicing, Chuzi went to the House Memory Center again and spent 500,000 points to upgrade the 550 Intermediate Reiki Training Room to the Advanced Reiki Training Room, and spent another 200,000 points to increase the gravity level to 100 times. Plus the cost of purchasing equipment for Yao Yu. Now, he only has 57,500 points left in his hands. Enough. Although the points are not many, they are enough. Return home. In reality, I took a shower and slept comfortably. The next day, Chuzi entered the training room that had just been upgraded. Compared with the intermediate spiritual energy training room, The concentration and quantity of spiritual energy in the advanced spiritual energy training room have increased tenfold again. As soon as he entered the training room, Chuzi felt that his body was like a dry sponge. In an instant, most of the spiritual energy in the training room was sucked away. In an instant, Chuzi felt as if he had been in a spa from the outside to the inside, and his whole body felt refreshed. Let's start. Unloading his equipment out of habit, Chuzi sat cross-legged in the center of the room and activated 100 times gravity suppression. Buzz. Due to the heavy pressure, Chuzi's body also felt tight and his breathing became somewhat unsmooth. The gravity adjustment function of the training room is very powerful, allowing gravity to act perfectly on every cell of Chuzi's body. Fortunately, the true form of the Tathagata in the Great Sun Tathagata Sutra is powerful enough. Not crushed by this pressure. On the contrary, under the influence of this gravity, stronger resilience exploded, becoming stronger and tougher. While adapting to the suppression of gravity, Chuzi adjusted his breathing and visualized the mark of destruction in his mind. Unconsciously, his consciousness sneaked into it and wandered among the profound rules of destruction. With the immersion of consciousness, the techniques in Chu's body began to operate. The terrifying pulling power swept away the spiritual energy in the training room. At the same time, the power gem of the infinity glove on his left hand also lit up, slowly injecting a large amount of energy into Chuzi's body. In the immersive practice, Chuzi lost his perception of time and the outside world. He didn't find out after 10 days of seclusion. Yao Yu returned to the room. As her aura became stronger, she discovered Chuzi who was practicing in seclusion, and quietly retreated. After repairing in the room for a week, she went out again when she saw that Chuzi had no intention of leaving. Another month has passed. Yao Yu returns again. This time, not only did her aura change, she also had a few more pieces of equipment on her body. The first thing she did after returning was to go to the training room to check Chuzi's status. But what awaited her was the scene of Chuzi sitting cross-legged. She tried to enter the training room. But 100 times the gravity is not something she can bear. BDCF. After noticing this, she glared at Chuzi unwillingly. Out the door again. This time she was out longer. It took 2 full months. When she came back this time, her aura improved again. Moreover, there was a blue-white arrogance in her eyes that was not lightning. Finally 2 stars. After returning to her room, Yao Yu habitually opened the training room, glanced at Chuzi who was as motionless as a statue, shook her head, and sighed. After several worlds of experience, she is no longer a rookie. It's just because of this that she understands Chuzi's power better. No matter which world you enter, you can destroy all enemies with overwhelming force. Based on this alone, she has never seen other reincarnations be able to do this. Including her. Although she comes from the 2-star reincarnation world, she is born with strength that surpasses most ordinary reincarnations. But if this scope is enlarged to the entire main god town, Yao Yu, a 1-star reincarnation from the 2-star world, is really not enough. Because those reincarnation families do not care about the cost of cultivating their successors. Many members of the aristocratic families have the experience of being 2-star reincarnators before they even start the initial trial. This is the heritage of the family. Even in this world where everyone is reincarnated, the gap between people is still so big. Or rather, bigger. He took out a set of blue quality tea sets and a box of blue quality tea. Yao Yu started making tea in the living room. The intense reincarnation trial made her nerves tense. In order to prevent the string in her heart from breaking, Yao Yu learned to relax herself. And her way of relaxing is the tea ceremony. Wash your hands, wash the pot, enter the palace, get the tea leaves, wash the tea, brew the tea, and seal the pot. After a series of operations, the refreshing fragrance of tea has spread throughout the room. At this time a familiar voice sounded. It smells so good. Can you give me a drink? Hearing this voice, Yao Yu felt happy. The corners of her mouth curled up a little. She raised her head and looked at Chuzi who appeared in front of her with a smile. She raised her delicate hand and made a gesture of invitation. Good tea should be drunk slowly, and you have to be patient, Alon. Regarding Yao Yu, Chuzi did not hide his real name. After knowing his name, Yao Yu changed the name of Chuzi from July to the current AZ. Of course, it takes a long time. We can drink tea slowly, chat slowly, and learn more about our respective experiences. As he spoke, Chuzi showed an ambiguous smile. Seeing him like this, Yao Yu couldn't help but blush, and she spat softly. Devil. The words coming out of her mouth were filled with the flavor of coquettishness. Seeing her like this, Chuzi couldn't help but smirk. Hey. A night of silence, no words. The next day, Chuzi and Yao Yu walked together. Arrive at the Samsara arena. No other meaning. Yao Yu simply wanted to see Chuzi's strength and at the same time confirm what she had learned. As for what she learned in the last few reincarnation trials, she was mysterious and refused to say anything. You have to let Chuzi experience it for yourself. Chuzi did not refuse. He was also a little curious after passing through these reincarnation worlds. How far has Yao Yu been elevated to? After paying the tickets, the two chose the competition mode in the competitive mode. This mode requires 2 reincarnations to know each other and both agree to activate it. In this state, the 2 reincarnations can use their full strength to compete unscrupulously. The playing field remains unchanged. It's still that arena-type venue. But the 2 people present were very outstanding. Chuzi has a tall and straight figure and handsome appearance. Although his energy is restrained, his life level has jumped, and his momentum is self-generated, like a god. Needless to say, Yao Yu has the title of the most stunning beauty in the martial arts world. She is breathtakingly beautiful. Coupled with her own strong aura, her whole person looks like a queen that makes people scratch their heads. However, this queenly style will only quickly soften in front of Chuzi and turn into an arrogant kitten. It will only make people pity. Be careful, my next attack is no joke. Yao Yu did not use weapons, but faced Chuzi with her bare hands. It's not that she looks down on Chuzi, quite the contrary. Only with her bare hands can she truly use her full strength. She is better at attacking with her bare hands than using a sword. Well, feel free to come over here. Nodding, Chuzi smiled. He didn't know what kind of trump card Yao Yu had. But through the judgment of Chi Machine, he knew that compared to himself, the strength of the invitation was really weak. If he is serious, Yao Yu was afraid that she wouldn't be able to survive even 1 round in his hands. Because after several months of retreat, his skills have been upgraded to a new level. Open black lens bracket Shantian Tianwu Baojian close black lens bracket. Level. LV15. Attribute 1. Junwu Holy Body. All attributes plus 195. Chi Recovery plus 1050. Junchi Martial Arts Effect plus 15,000%. Close black lens bracket. Dash. Attribute 2. Martial Arts True Pill. Your martial arts true pill can communicate with the void and absorb the air of the void. The power of your true martial arts chi increases by 500%, and your defense against energy attacks increases by 1000%. You gain special abilities. Void Tai Chi. Your protective energy has the effect of Void Tai Chi, which can deflect the attacking energy to the void plane. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 3. All skills are as you wish. The power of all your attack skills is increased by an additional 1500%. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Great Sun Tathagata Sutra close black lens bracket. Level. LV10. Attribute 1. Tathagata's True Body. Strength plus 205, Constitution plus 205, Physical Strength plus 1600%. After receiving damage, the resistance to such damage increases by 13%. Attribute 2. Big Sunlight, represents the symbol of martial arts status, Spirit plus 150, Horizontal martial arts training effect increased by 1300%, Perception plus 350%, Reaction speed plus 350%. Attribute 3. Tathagata Mahamudra, the attack effect is increased by an additional 100%. Additional special effects, Tathagata that shakes the world, forms the image of Tathagata when attacking, and attacks the target synchronously. 1. Looking at her own attributes and skills, Chuzi suspected that even if she stood and let Yao Yu output at will, it would be difficult for her to break her skin. But as a gentleman, Chu naturally would not embarrass a lady like this. So he wants to put on a good show. Let Yao Yu feel her own growth without being hit on her confidence. It is not easy to do this. Chuzi must be very energetic. Brother Aizen once said something good. It is difficult to control the force of stepping on ants without crushing them to death. Of course, Yao Yu is not an ant. But the job Chuzi has to do is more difficult than surviving on ants. Beep. At this time the countdown has come to an end. Yao Yu's figure moved, as graceful as a ghost, bringing up a string of afterimages that detoured around Chuzi's side. She was very aware of the gap between herself and Chuzi, so she never thought about winning from the beginning. There was only one thing she had to do. Use your strength to your heart's content and let Chuzi know how much she has grown during this time. The plain white jade hands seemed transparent under the blessing of Mingyu's true energy. The biting cold air stabbed Chu's weak side with spiral force. Show no mercy. At this time, Yao Yu was killing Chuzi like she was treating her father's enemy. It's a pity that she didn't know that Mingyu's true energy, which she mobilized with all her strength, was directly exiled to the void plane by this energy after coming into contact with the protective energy that Chuzi spontaneously activated. He couldn't even make Chuzi feel cold. However, Chuzi looked serious on the surface, controlling his speed to a height that was stronger than Yao Yu, but not too strong, and constantly resisted Yao Yu's fierce attacks. Good wait. As the two fought, Yao Yu's expression suddenly changed. She hasn't played against Chuzi for a long time since Wuming World. She didn't expect that after such a short period of time, Emperor Li of Chu would grow up again. Now she uses Yiwa Jade, trying to rebound Chuzi's strength, but she can't do it at all. She could only take away Chuzi's strength before she could continue to fight Chuzi. Bang bang bang. The released force shot out, leaving deep pits on the ground. Chuzi, who was fighting against Yao Yu, had a layer of sweat on his forehead. He is tired. It was really hard to maintain the strength of the palm just enough for Yao Yu to release it. After only playing for a while, he felt mentally and physically exhausted. Chuzi realized for the first time that renting a house can be so hard. He decided that after this fake match, he would never compete with Yao Yu again. Nothing else, too tired. Be careful. Suddenly, Chuzi heard Yao Yu's prompt. The next moment, he suddenly felt a strange force in Yao Yu's attack. The level that this force targets is not the simple physical body and energy, but a much smaller microscopic level, the atomic level. Under the influence of this force, the surface atoms of Chuzi's protective energy were exploded. After that, he was blocked by the remaining energy. Looking speechlessly at Yao Yu's fist in front of his arm, Chuzi scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to continue to let the water go, but unexpectedly, Yao Yu did not follow common sense and activated his body-protecting energy. It's fine now. Yao Yu must have realized that she was letting go. I don't know how angry this proud little woman will be. Thinking of Yao Yu's possible Hedong lion's roar, Chuzi had already started making plans. Sure enough, my strength is still too weak compared to you. It turns out that Chuzi thought too much. Seeing that even her new strength could not break through his body-protecting chi, Yao Yu already knew it. She didn't feel any emotion like hurting her self-esteem. Instead, I gained a new understanding of Chuzi's power. It's so powerful. How did you do it? Seeing Yao Yu's curious look, Chuzi was silent for a moment. Haha, needless to say, I know there are some things that are not suitable for people other than myself to know. As smart as inviting the moon to see Chuzi's hesitation, she immediately realized the problem. She waved her hand and smiled. Thanks. Chuzi didn't want to deceive Yao Yu, but the existence of the Supreme Lottery was really not suitable for anyone to know. He was very pleased with Yao Yu's sensibleness. Then since I can't test my strength with you, I can only compete with others. Do you want to play too? A's. Not having enough fun, Yao Yu decided to have some fun in the arena. That's fine. After thinking for a moment and nodding, Chuzi and Yao Yu exited the competition mode and began the guest ranking battle. There's not much to say. Chuzi's current strength, Brave Bronze rank, is also overwhelming. No matter what style of reinforcement his opponent is, it is difficult to block his move. Even if it is strengthened with a highly restorative technological flow, biochemical gene enhancement similar to the black light virus. In the hands of Chuzi, who possesses the power of destruction, he can only end up being killed instantly. Chuzi still clearly remembers the shock and confusion on this guy's face at that time. The expression on his face clearly showed that he couldn't bear the blow and was completely stunned. There were more than a dozen boring fights. Chuzi upgraded his rank to Valiant Bronze 3. Looking at the various skills that he didn't even move, Chu sighed and shook his head. Exited the arena. Playing ranked games here is a waste of time. He decided that it would be better to spend the rest of his time practicing. After these few months of seclusion, he felt that he was about to scratch the surface of the rules of the Great Avenue. He was going to try to see if he could pass the remaining time, break through the barrier, and understand a trace of the rules of the avenue. Time passes day after day. Chuzi starts practicing at 9 o'clock every morning, takes an hour's break at noon, and stops on time at 5 o'clock in the evening. Let's eat together with Yao Yu, chat, and play in the entertainment area. Life was very comfortable. Just like this, 2 months passed without realizing it. A 2-star world is much more difficult than a 1-star world. Yao Yu, you have to be careful. In Samsara Square, Chuzi felt Yao Yu's cold and restrained aura, which was like a sacred jade. He nodded secretly in his heart and gave careful instructions. Yes, I will. Nodding, Yao Yu raised her hand to help Chuzi smooth a strand of hair and smiled lightly. You still like to be wordy. Got used to. Nodding, Chuzi looked at Yao Yu and said softly. Martial fortune is prosperous. Martial fortune is prosperous. With a slight smile, Yao Yu's figure suddenly disappeared into the square. Then, I'm almost leaving. After seeing that there was less than a month of rest left, Chuzi opened his properties panel. Open black lens bracket reincarnation. Chuzi close black lens bracket. Star rating. Samsung. Rank. Valiant Bronze 3. Military rank. First class soldier. Attributes. Strength 620, Agility 485, Constitution 630, Spirit 565. Skills. Shantian Junwu Baojian LV20, Great Sun Tathagata Sutra LV20, Killing Intention Wave Leiwang Fist LV5, Hunyuan Junjiang Zan, Ace Special Forces LV Max, Sword Master LV10, Maoshan True Solution LV Max, Maoshan Taoism LV Max. Close black lens bracket. Equipment. Infinity Gloves, Jade Disc of Creation, Knight's Belt, Holy Oath, Tyrant's Sorrow Evolved Bulletproof Suit. Close black lens bracket. Points. 45,000, a little more than the invitation. Achievements. 455 Real Mission Plus Killing Abyss Monsters and Destroying Abyss Demon Barracks. Props. Soul Catching Bell, Fenrir Wolf, Jingshan Pen Purple, Lowest Level, a box of Spiritual Energy Cinnabar, a pack of blank talisman paper, and a pack of functional talisman paper. Close black lens bracket. Countdown to break time. 22 days and 15 hours. Close black lens bracket. After these days of practice, Chu's various skills have been greatly improved. However, as the skill level increases, the amount of spiritual energy required for skill upgrade gradually increases. Even the Advanced Spiritual Energy Training Room and the Infinity Gauntlet provide energy together. His skill upgrade speed still slowed down. Discovering this, Chuzi decided to conduct a reincarnation trial. He wants to obtain more resources through the reincarnation trial. The road of spiritual practice is also the road of plunder. If you want to live forever and attribute great power to yourself, you need resources. Just like a cultivator needs to occupy the blessed land of cave heaven and pick the treasures of heaven and earth. Magic practitioners need to absorb magic substances and plunder magic resources. Technological creators must collect minerals and fuel. Resources are the nourishment for growth. The biggest advantage of reincarnators is that they can enter major worlds to plunder resources and allow themselves to continue to grow. After clicking on the transfer option, a series of prompts popped up. The person who detects reincarnation is located in the Samsara Square and can be teleported. Close black lens bracket. Tip: you still have 22 days of rest. If you choose the reincarnation trial now, your rest period will be reset. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to send it? Close black lens bracket. Reincarnator detected star rating, 3 stars. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Random matching world completed. Close black lens bracket. You are about to be transported to the world, the Warring States period demon story. Transmission points, 10,000. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to spend 5,000 points to rematch? Close black lens bracket. Warring States demon story. What a good luck. During this period of time, Chuzi was not idle either. During his free time practicing and accompanying Yao Yu, he also learned about the information about Samsung World. Samsung World. The world of animation is particularly diverse. The props and equipment produced are also diverse. However, if you want to obtain these props and equipment, you must have sufficient strength. It's like the Warring States period demon story. This world is set in the Warring States period of the island country, and is a world composed of many animations, games and legends. In this world 5.1 gods, demons and demons exist in the world. Human beings are like pigs and dogs, and only a few strong ones have the ability to fight with these beings. In this world, the most famous ones are all kinds of famous knives. For example, General Dogs Tai Suya, Tien Tien Ya, and Kong Yun Ya. Another example is the immortal slash hidden in Shanfeng Temple. There are also the famous demon swords Muramasa, Kikuichimanji, Reikiri, and Mikazuki Munekika. These famous knives are at least of red quality, and the high-end ones even have silver gray or even dark gold grades. Of course, it is not easy to get these famous swords. After all, the samurai who can possess such a famous sword are not mortals. Then let me see what this world is like. Grinning, Chuzi chose to teleport. There was a faint flash of light, and he disappeared into the Samsara square. Unfamiliar ceiling. Opening your eyes, you will see a thatched roof. The cushion beneath him was a soft yellow hard straw mat that smelled like hay. The body was covered with a thin quilt that was worn but clean. There is also an elegant and pleasant fragrance on the thin quilt. He sat up silently, and what appeared in front of him was a rather simple Japanese-style room. Soil walls, wooden floors, and a wooden cabinet. It makes up everything in this room. Looking down at himself, he found that the tyrant sorrow on his body had been transformed into a familiar black cloak. In his hand, there was a long knife with a black handle and a black sheath. At the same time that his eyes came into contact with the long knife, the plain yet arrogant voice of the Supreme Lottery System rang out. Open black lens bracket. Cooling time is over, close black lens bracket. The fourth Supreme Equipment Lottery begins. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Ding. Close black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the equipment, Zanpakuto Infinite. Open black lens bracket. Zanpakuto Infinite. Close black lens bracket. Supreme Deluxe Exclusive Edition. The Soul Blade with Infinite True Name, the Zanpakuto that can release power by chanting the true name, has been transformed by the system to have the characteristics of Absolute True Name and Infinite Evolution. 1. Effect 1. Infinite True Name. Chanting the true name will allow the Zanpakuto to perform the initial release. The first release of the Zanpakuto is related to the chanting of the true name. After the initial release, chanting the true name again can perform the swastika interpretation. The solution can only be related to the Zanpakuto that has already been solved. The true name of this Zanpakuto is blessed by the Supreme System and will not be banned by any existence. Close black lens bracket. Effect 2. Supreme Divine Blade. This knife can be evolved through swallowing sword martial arts. After evolution, the sharpness, strength, special effects and other effects can be improved. Close black lens bracket. Effect 3. Soul Blade. Your soul attributes can resonate with this sword, thus unlocking your Zanpakuto's true name, and depending on the changes in the attributes in your soul, you can obtain multiple exclusive Zanpakuto form. Close black lens bracket. Effect 4. Exclusive equipment. Only you can use this knife. Close black lens bracket. Effect 5. The magic weapon hides itself. This knife looks ordinary. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Heart, soul, and blade, these are the core of the blade. Zanpakuto. Infinity. Hey, interesting. Picking up the long knife, Chu instantly felt connected with the knife. At the same time, two names emerged from his mind. Time. Finally destroyed. As soon as these two names emerged, Chuzi knew that these two names were the names of the Zanpakuto that echoed the law of time and the law of destruction in his soul. Hey, interesting. Feeling so, Chuzi turned his head. In his perception, a breath exuding pure spiritual power had come to the door of the room. Wow! The sliding door of the room was opened, and a girl wearing a red and white witch costume carrying a bamboo basket walked in. She saw Chuzi sitting up and asked, "Sir, you are awake. Do you feel any discomfort?" "I'm fine, thank you." Can you tell me where this is? Looking at the delicate and beautiful appearance of the girl in front of him, Chuzi sniffed gently. He smelled the same elegant fragrance from the girl's body as on the quilt. You were found unconscious outside the village by the villagers and were seriously injured, so they sent you to me for treatment. It's great to see you wake up now. The girl directly told Chuzi's life experience without hiding anything. As she finished speaking, Chuzi felt the reincarnation brand heat up slightly, and a series of messages jumped out. Open black lens bracket transmission completed, close black lens bracket. World. Warring States period demon story. Reincarnator permission detected. Samsung. Close black lens bracket. Identity is being brought in. Open black lens bracket ding. Close black lens bracket. It is detected that the reincarnator has a linked identity. Congratulations on obtaining the identity. Wulan Taboo July Demon. You get a special main mission. The demon enters Fuso. Task description. After breaking the void, you did not come to the legendary fairyland, but broke through the blockade of the divine barrier and came to a larger world. There is no protection from the divine class here, and demons and monsters run rampant. I understand. At this point, you decide to use the blade in your hand to weigh the strength of the gods, demons and monsters in this world. Close black lens bracket. Task requirements. Defeat or kill enough gods, demons and powerful humans to create the name of the invincible July demon. Close black lens bracket. Tip. This world is a multi-camp competitive world. You may be attacked by reincarnators from the enemy camp. Kill the reincarnators from the enemy camp to obtain a bloody treasure chest. Close black lens bracket. 20 points have been automatically deducted to change the clothing appearance to suit the current era. Close black lens bracket. Is this a multi-camp world again? The light screen faded and Chuzi came back to his senses. He looked at the girl in front of him, smiled and nodded to her. Thank you for saving me. My name is Kikio, from Tianming. After hearing Chuzi's self-introduction, a trace of surprise flashed in the girl's eyes. He did not expect that the villagers randomly picked up an injured person, but he turned out to be from the distant kingdom of heaven. It turns out that Mr. Chu is from the Great Tomorrow Dynasty. My name is Kikio, and I am the Witch of Maple Village. Platycodon. Hearing this term, Chuzi raised his eyebrows. No wonder he felt that the girl in front of him looked familiar. It turned out that she was the current generation shrine maiden responsible for guarding the Shikan Jade. Have you ever heard of my name? Seeing Chuzi's expression, Kikio asked curiously. Yeah, I've heard of it. His eyes wandered, and Chuzi's eyes finally landed on Platycodon grandiflorum's chest, where he felt an unusual aura. One is good and one is evil, the sun is yin and the other is yang. The two are entangled with each other and merge with each other. A contradictory yet harmonious individual is formed. Feeling Chuzi's gaze, Kikio frowned slightly, and a trace of anger flashed in her eyes. Is that the Four Souls Jade there? It has a strange smell. Before Kikio could finish her words, Chuzi interrupted her. He hooked his fingers. Kikio felt that she had been sealing her, and the Four Souls Jade hidden in her chest had lost contact with her. In the hands of the young man in front of him, there was an extra gem worn on a spar necklace. This jade is the jade of the Four Souls. Open black lens bracket Four Souls Jade close black lens bracket. Origin. Unknown land of warring states demons and demons. Quality. Red hyphenation point highest grade. Attribute. Demon power plus 100. Special effect 1. Monster power strengthening. The complete Four Souls Jade has a great strengthening effect on the monster clan. It can turn a half-demon into a complete monster, and it can also turn an ordinary monster into a powerful big monster. Close black lens bracket. Special effect 2. Power of Four Souls. Strength plus 25, Agility plus 14, Constitution plus 22, Spirit plus 30. Close black lens bracket. Special effect 3. Double Spirit Transformation. Activate the Straight Spirit, obtain the blessing of the ancient witch Queasy, obtain purifying spiritual power, activate the Bent Spirit, obtain the blessing of the ancient demon, and obtain the demon transformation. Explanation. A crystal formed from the souls of demons and witches. Even so, their souls are still fighting in the jade. Close black lens bracket. Good. Nodding, Chuzi tied the Four Souls Jade around his waist to serve as a pendant. Seeing his action, Kikio became anxious. Master Chu, the Four Souls Jade is an ominous thing. It will attract demons and will only bring you misfortune. Please return it to me quickly. As she said that, she ducked and grabbed Chuzi's waist. As one of the best Miko in the contemporary era, even if she is not skilled in physical skills, her movements are extremely fast. If he were an ordinary person, he probably wouldn't be able to escape her grasp. Unfortunately, Chuzi is not an ordinary person. Easily dodging and avoiding Kikio's grasp, Chuzi raised his finger and pressed it against her forehead, preventing her from moving forward. If the monsters really dare to come, I will drive them to pieces. Also, since it is an unknown thing, it should be protected by a man like me. You, a woman, should be honest and find a man to marry. After hearing this, Kikio stopped and his face turned cold. Because Chuzi's words hit her right spot. As a shrine maiden, she was supposed to cut off her passions and walk on the path of Shira to conquer demons all her life, until she was killed by a demon. But deep inside her there was a desire. I long for myself to be like a mortal, to be able to find a loved one, to grow old together and stay together for life. Today, the deepest secret in her heart was revealed. All she could feel was endless shame and slight confusion. At the same time, there was still a trace of inexplicable thoughts rising in her heart. Maybe, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he could really give away the Jade of Four Souls. Ouch! A terrifying roar suddenly came to mind, breaking the awkward scene. Upon hearing this voice, Kikio's face suddenly became serious, and she quickly put down the bamboo basket behind her, and took down the long bow and arrow pot from the wall on the other side of the room. There are monsters coming. Master Chu, please hide here and don't let them find out that the Jade of Four Souls is on you. But when Kikio turned his head, what he saw was Chuzi walking out of the room. Platycodon, are these guys monsters? Coming to the outside world, Chuzi found that the thatched house he was in was located in a village. The village is dotted with dozens of thatched houses in an orderly manner. A strip of compacted loess runs through the entire village, and a fence is made of bamboo around the village. By this time the fences were in tatters. A large group of strange-looking monsters, not much stronger than wild beasts, are constantly attacking the defense line formed by the villagers. Yes, a line of defense formed by villagers. These so-called monsters couldn't even quickly break through the defense line of farmers holding farm tools as weapons. This scene also opened Chuzi's eyes. This was the first time he knew that monsters could be weak enough to achieve this kind of virtue. Collapse. There was a trembling sound from a bowstring. Chuzi saw an arrow wrapped with rich spiritual power, which exploded like a rocket into a crowd of monsters, creating a mushroom cloud formed by purified spiritual power. The expanded spiritual power was like the proud summer sun. Under the illumination of this spiritual power, all the monsters howled miserably and were burned into puddles of ashes. Good archery skills. Chuzi clapped his hands and expressed his appreciation without hesitation. It is different from the waste of these parallel imported monsters. Platycodon's strength is truly powerful. She is worthy of being called the powerful witch in the Samsung world. Thank you, Master Chu. Can you please return the Jade of Four Souls to me? You have also seen how ferocious those monsters are. If you still carry the Jade of Four Souls, you will suffer endless encounters with such monsters in the future. Endless pursuit. Platycodon put down the long bow and looked serious. Although she longs for a mortal life, she is more aware of her responsibilities and mission. She can't escape. He nodded calmly. Chuzi had no intention of handing it back. Seeing his virtue, tic-tac-toe veins popped up on Kikio's smooth forehead. Exclamation mark. Puppy over there, why don't you come out? If you don't come out, I will go find you. Unfortunately, Chu interrupted her before she could say anything. After hearing Chuzi's words, Platycodon was shocked, and reflexively took out an arrow and put it on the long bow. Although she did not sense any evil spirits nearby, she still acted on guard despite her cautious personality. Following Chuzi's gaze, Platycodon only saw an ordinary Shulinlin, without feeling a trace of evil spirit. The scene fell into an awkward silence. Chuzi felt the suspicious eyes of Kikio next to him, grinned, and raised his fingers in the direction he was looking. The next second, a young man wearing a red fire rat fur, with long silver hair and a pair of canine ears on his head. He squatted on the ground in confusion and looked at Chuzi standing in front of him. It's me. Since you don't want to come over, how about I invite you over? Are you impressed? Chuzi flicked his fingers, and a piece of talisman paper appeared in his hand. Ma Li Jiao. Then the palm holding the talisman blurred slightly, and the talisman in his hand disappeared and appeared on the forehead of the dog demon boy in front of him. What did you do to me? Why can't I move? Damn it, you attacked me secretly. If you can, let me go and let's fight openly. Feeling the stiff and uncontrollable body of the dog demon boy, he panicked, controlled the only movable mouth, and shouted. After hearing what he said, he smiled mockingly. Young man, you can't even dodge my talisman. If I just wanted to chop off your head, would you be able to react? After hearing this, the dog demon boy was silent. He didn't realize anything just now when the man in front of him put the charm on his forehead. The other party is right, if the other party really wants to kill him. I'm afraid it won't be much simpler than sticking a talisman. What do you want? After a moment of silence, the silver-haired boy asked dully. Understanding the difference in strength, the silver-haired boy accepted his fate. If you dare to act arrogantly even if you know that others are already capable of beating you, you are seeking death. He's not that stupid yet. How's it going? It seems like you don't know your worth yet. Looking at the golden eyes of the dog demon boy, Chuzi grinned and raised his hand to poke his right eye. Poof! Ah! The dog demon boy let out a scream. He felt something being pulled out of his eyes. But this thing is not an eyeball. But something else hidden in his eyes. He didn't know exactly what it was, but he had a feeling. This thing is very important to him. Found it. The fingers retracted and reorganized, and a small black pearl appeared on the fingertips. This pearl is of extraordinary quality and exudes a strange brilliance. The power of the underworld is hidden in this pearl, and the demon power is also rippling in it. There should be the tomb of a certain great demon hidden inside. Sir, how do you know that such a thing would be hidden in this guy? As the most powerful Miko in the contemporary era, Kikio is as knowledgeable as she is powerful. She knew the function of this black pearl just by looking at it. She looked at Chuzi with curiosity and asked her 220 question. It's very simple, I know the plot. Playing with the black pearl in his hand, Chuzi would certainly not say such outrageous things. His name is Inuyasha, the son of the great demon dog general of the Western Kingdom. In order to allow his half-demon son to grow up well, this general has really taken great pains. Changing the topic, Chuzi flicked his finger and injected the power of space into the black pearl to activate it. A black vortex appeared out of thin air in the air. Chuzi turned his head, smiled at Kikio, raised his hand and said, Miss Kikio, are you interested in accompanying me to the legendary tomb of the great demon? All right. Silently looking at Chuzi's hand, Platycodon did not pass his hand over, but walked into the space vortex on his own. Seeing this scene, Chuzi shrugged and walked in without paying attention. Perspective shift. Chuzi found himself in a dark purple space tunnel. Not far in front of him, Platycodon was flying forward quickly along with the surging suction force. Soon, the two came to the exit of the corridor. Then there was a bright light in front of my eyes. Chuzi discovered a place shrouded in clouds and mist. This place is covered with mountains and the sky and the earth are bright. From a distance, you can see a terrifying skeleton standing in it that is taller than the mountains. In the sky, a large number of fleshless skeletal birds were circling. When they saw Chuzi and Platycodon coming out of the space tunnel, they all let out shrill screams and flew toward them like dark clouds. Anyone can guess that these guys are definitely not here to welcome them. Hurry as the law dictates. Upon discovering this, Kikio immediately took out a paper crane from his wide sleeves, pointed it like a sword, and activated his spiritual power. Puff! The paper crane suddenly enlarged and held up Platycodon grandiflorum. She was sitting sideways on the paper crane and was just about to urge the paper crane to catch Chuzi. But she found that Chuzi had flashed past her like a raging hurricane. He rushed towards the giant skeleton bird. Looking speechlessly at Chuzi who was about to come into contact with the bone birds, Kikio suddenly felt that she was just worrying blindly. This man from the Ming dynasty is much stronger than imagined. In fact, her guess was not wrong. Chuzi was much more powerful than she had guessed. Just in time to try out the knife with you guys. Feeling the death energy rippling from the giant skeletal bird, Chuzi flicked his fingers and popped out a section of the long knife on his waist. Gently place your palm on the long knife at your waist. There was a gleam of light in Chuzi's eyes. Everything in the world will turn into ashes. The blade will flow like fire. Boom! Terrifying heat exploded with explosive flames. The long knife in Chuzi's hand suddenly changed. The black-hilted blade turned into a gorgeous Eastern French purple in the burning flames. Wisps of bright golden flames swirled around the long knife. The blazing high temperature caused great distortion in the air. The diffused heat formed a ring-shaped shock wave, spreading in all directions. The first ones to bear the brunt are these giant skeletal birds. Under this heat wave, most of the skeletal giant bird was washed away into fragments of skeletons, which sparsely fell from the sky. The few remaining giant birds with extremely strong bodies are now flying in panic towards the square away from Chuzi under the instinctive warning. They didn't notice that there was a flying paper crane in the direction of their flight. On the paper cranes, a beautiful girl wearing a witch costume has already bent her bow and aimed an arrow at them. Collapse. There is something pleasant about the sound of the bowstring. The arrows wrapped with rich purifying spiritual power easily purified these giant skeletal birds into dregs. Looking at the clean sky, Kikio's expression was a little complicated. She had never thought that someone could kill a large number of demons in an instant just by using the burst of energy from drawing a sword. Such strength is like a god. Who are you exactly? Driving the paper crane, he arrived not far from Chuzi. Feeling the terrible heat wave erupting on his body, traces of sweat broke out on Platycodon's forehead. I'm just an ordinary warrior. Grinning, looking at Kikio squinting his eyes in a silent protest, Chuzi stepped forward and flew towards the Inu Admiral's skeleton like a breeze. Seeing his action, Kikio snorted coldly and urged Chihei to chase after him. No matter how powerful and dangerous this man is, she has to keep up. Because the Jade of Four Souls is in his body, and a being as powerful as him would use the Jade of Four Souls to do evil. The danger is even greater than that of monsters. As a Miko, it was her duty to keep an eye on him. As for whether this man would be disgusted by doing this, she didn't care. The two of them used their own methods to fall into the abdomen of the skeleton through the big black mouth of the dog general's skeleton. There is another world in this empty belly. This is an extremely dark space. The surrounding walls are made up of giant skeletons. Skeletons are everywhere on the ground. In the center of the space, there is a golden circular platform with an old long knife stuck on the platform. There is a flame behind the long knife, relief of pattern. Arrive, jumped off the paper crane and crushed a few skulls. Chuzi felt the real evil spirit in the space and smiled. The Mausoleum of General Inu. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, National Samsara. Start with an Infinity Glove. Chapter 131. The Tomb of General Inu. Kikio on the other side heard Chuzi's voice, thoughtfully. She found this young man who claimed to be from Ming Dynasty to be very suspicious. Not only is he incredibly powerful, but he also seems to know everything. How could such a being be unconscious at the entrance of the village? Kikio feels that she is getting closer and closer to the truth. Click, click, click. At this time, a strange sound sounded. Kikio was surprised. She looked up in the direction of the sound and found a cluster of shining diamonds emerging from the wall. Among the diamonds, a skull with antlers and a mouth full of fangs slowly protruded. In its dark eye sockets, there were 2 points of red light that looked like charcoal. Locked in on Chuzi below. As for Platycodon grandiflorum, it was not taken seriously. Because compared to the sense of threat that Chuzi brings to it, Platycodon's sense of threat is like a docile little tabby cat, unable to cause it any trouble. Young man, this is not the place for you. The old voice sounded, and the diamonds around the skull rotated, aiming the sharp edges at Chuzi below. Leave quickly, otherwise I won't be polite. So much nonsense. Frowning and looking at the treasure fairy ghost in front of him, Chuzi just calmly took out the Liubing Ruahuo that had not yet been released from his waist. If you can do it, try not to force it. Chuzi's way of doing things is always so simple and crude. Call. The golden red flame ignited, and the scorching air waves instantly raised the temperature in the space by more than 50 degrees. Result. Platycodon grandiflorum, which was affected by Chiyu, immediately held up the barrier to isolate itself from the high temperature. The next second, she saw a huge pillar of golden and red fire spurting out, directly submerging the treasure fairy and ghost. Boom! The whole tomb was shaking. Chuzi's flame slash not only vaporized the treasure fairy and ghost on the spot, but also blasted a huge hole in the general's corpse. Through the hole, you can see that on the series of mountains behind General Inu, there is a huge hole with magma flowing continuously. Kill the treasure fairy and ghost and get 35,000 points. Brush. Dissipate the flames on the long knife and sheath it. Raise your hand. A ball of light and shadow emitting crystal light appeared in his hand. Open black lens bracket precious immortal ghost essence close black lens bracket. Origin. Warring States period demon story. Quality. Red lowest grade. Attribute. The soul crystal that hides the treasure fairy's ghost crystallization ability can be used for fusion and equipment enchantment. Close black lens bracket. Effect 1. Performing soul fusion can activate the diamondization ability, which can consume energy in the body and condense diamonds for defense and attack operations. Close black lens bracket. Effect 2. The weapon can be enchanted. After the enchantment, the strength of the weapon is increased by 500% below the red level, and above the red level can only be increased by 100% and the diamond gun breaking attack skill is obtained. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The souls of treasure fairies and ghosts are a fatal temptation for women. Maybe you can consider opening a jewelry store. Close black lens bracket. Certification points. 5,000. This precious fairy ghost essence is an auxiliary prop. Mainly used to strengthen weapons. Of course it can be used to absorb it, but this diamond forming power is not really powerful. It can only perform physical output, and its capabilities are too monotonous. In Samsung's world of reincarnation, such ability is too weak. Putting his spirit away, Shutai walked towards the platform. Looking at the chipped iron teeth inserted into the blade of the platform, he raised his hand and grabbed it. Stop. The loud shouting was accompanied by the fierce wind, but it could not stop Chuzi for even a moment. He grasped the handle of Tai Suiya's knife and pulled it out. The tooth was pulled out by him. The strong wind behind him also hit him at this time. As a result, he was bounced away by his protective energy. Boom! He turned his head and looked at Inuyasha, who was thrown away by his own protective energy and made a big hole in the ground. And on the other side, Seshomaru, dressed in a gorgeous kimono and with long silver hair flying, slowly descended from the sky. Chuzi casually slapped the Tetsuya in his hand on the Zanpakuto Mugen. Wow! Like a fragile glass product, the iron-broken teeth suddenly shattered into a ball of fine light particles when they came into contact with infinity. These light particles were quickly absorbed by infinity and turned into nutrients for its growth. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Zanpakuto Infinite, Evolution. Close black lens bracket. Sharpness plus 20, acquired characteristics, absorption of demonic energy. Close black lens bracket. Yachi Absorption. Absorb the target's monster energy and obtain the monster's characteristics. Close black lens bracket. What have you done? Seeing that Tai Suiya was instantly shattered into pieces, not even the shards were left. Even so, Sesshomaru's character could not help but undergo emotional changes. He stared at Chuzi, who took out the Baoshan ghost essence from the storage space and patted it on infinity, and asked in a deep voice. Does what I do have anything to do with you? Completely ignoring Sesshomaru's murderous intent, Chuzi drew out the Zanpakuto Mugen that returned to normal, and nodded with satisfaction. He could feel that his sword became stronger. Court death. Seeing Chuzi being so arrogant, Sesshomaru couldn't help but lower the corners of his mouth, frowned, and murderous intent rose in his heart. Today, he originally just wanted to come over and take a look at his incompetent half-blood half-demon brother, and beat him on the way. As a result, as soon as I followed his aura, I found that he was like a dog, being suppressed on the spot with a talisman. His performance made Sesshomaru angry. Although he occasionally bullies his useless brother. But he couldn't bear to see his good-for-nothing brother being bullied by others. Of course, only I can bully my younger brother. Sesshomaru had such an idea in his mind. After he helped Inuyasha remove the talisman from Inuyasha's mouth, he learned that his brother's eyes actually contained the tomb passage left by his father. Without any hesitation, He immediately rushed into the space channel opened by the Black Pearl and came to the boundary between life and death. And quickly rushed into his father's tomb. But what he saw was the image of the iron-broken teeth he had dreamed of being crushed by this hateful human being. New and old hatreds add up. It made Sesshomaru want to kill someone like never before. He also put his ideas into action. Poisonous flower claw. Dark green poisonous mist surrounded his paws. Coupled with the powerful strength of the giant wrist, one blow is enough to dissolve and collapse a hill. Sesshomaru lowered his body, leaving behind a series of afterimages like a ghost. The sharp claws with poisonous mist hit Chuzi's head directly. Die! A deep voice sounded, and Sesshomaru's claws blasted Chuzi's head into pieces on the spot. The scattered bones and flesh rustled in the air and were corroded by the poisonous mist into pus. Seeing Chuzi shaking the fallen body, Sesshomaru snorted arrogantly. A mere human being. What Sesshomaru didn't know was that it was from the perspective of Inuyasha and Kikio. He first activated the poison flower claw, and then blasted a big hole in the wall with one claw. Then he snorted arrogantly and said a confusing sentence, "It's just a human being." Chuzi, who was supposed to be his opponent, was walking towards him casually. Sesshomaru, what are you doing? Inuyasha on the side looked at his annoying old brother, still pretending to be stupid, and didn't realize that Chuzi had walked up behind him. He couldn't help but remind him. His reminder stunned Sesshomaru. At this moment, he suddenly discovered that Chuzi, who had been shot in the head by him, slowly turned into a phantom and disappeared. Did you just realize it? Your reaction is really slow. An indifferent voice sounded, and Sesshomaru suddenly felt pain in his body. A sharp sword energy had already left a huge wound on his body. Huge blood splashed out, leaving a thick and colorful mark on the ground. Whoosh! After shaking off the blood on the long knife, Chuzi couldn't help but sigh in his heart when he saw Sesshomaru staggering back while holding his wound. It is worthy of being called Landa's sword. This completely hypnotic power is like cheating. Completely hypnotic, controlled by the five senses. Such a powerful ability, that is, the even more powerful ability of the Infinity Gauntlet, can stabilize his head. When Inuyasha and Sesshomaru just entered the mausoleum, Chuzi quietly transformed the Zanpakuto Mugen's form from a flowing blade like fire to a mirrored flower and water moon. And completed the hypnosis of these two people. Inuyasha was able to attack him in the beginning because he was deliberately waterproof and wanted to test Inuyasha's counterattack. Now he wasn't going to play around. These two unlucky guys who were caught in the mirror naturally had no chance. How about I give you a chance and you become my mount and I spare your lives? Raising his hand and pointing at Sesshomaru who had healed his wounds through demonic energy, Chuzi wrote lightly. Go to hell, you bastard. After hearing this, Sesshomaru hadn't spoken yet, but Inuyasha became anxious first. He opened his paws with bulging veins, jumped up, and grabbed Chuzi fiercely. Soul-dispelling iron claw, you made a bad choice. A low voice sounded in my ears. The next second, a huge wound opened on Inuyasha's abdomen. Ah! The severe pain caused Inuyasha to scream and fall to the ground. It could be seen that a large pool of blood quickly flowed out from under his body. Seeing Inuyasha's injury, Sesshomaru's heart tightened and his face darkened. It wasn't because his cheap brother was injured, but even he didn't see how Chuzi hit Inuyasha. Vision, within his sight, Chuzi did not move. Hearing, he didn't hear any moving sounds either. Sense of smell, Chuzi's scent has never been shaken. Feeling, he also didn't feel Chuzi's moving breath. How did he do it? Did he interfere with my five senses? With his amazing combat intuition, Sesshomaru had guessed the function of Kyoku's Suigetsu. But he had no solution. After all, he is not a saint. He can block the five senses and still use the sixth sense to fight. What to do? At this time, Sesshomaru was running through various thoughts. Forget it, it's useless to ask you. Just be honest and obedient. Just when Sesshomaru was thinking about whether he could blow up everything around him by exploding demonic power, he suddenly felt dizzy, and then his consciousness became blurred. The next second, he regained consciousness. But when he looked at Chuzi at this moment, his eyes only contained obedience that penetrated into his soul. Owner. Feeling Sesshomaru's heartfelt admiration, Chuzi nodded with satisfaction and put down his left hand. In his left hand, the light of the Mind Stone and the Soul Stone is gradually extinguishing. He had just completed the transformation of Sesshomaru by transforming his soul and distorting his spirit. Now this cold-blooded noble prince has become his most loyal mount. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket completely loyal object detected, close black lens bracket. Reincarnator star level, level 3. Enable servant recruitment function. You can consume meritorious deeds and turn the target into a summoning card. It is detected that the completely loyal object has a strength of 3 stars, and it requires 300 merits to be converted. Close black lens bracket. Oh, there is still such an operation. Chuzi was a little surprised by the reminder that the reincarnation brand popped up. Judging from this tip, as long as he uses the Infinity Gauntlet to brainwash the strong people he likes, he can get a super-dimensional army composed of strong people from all over the world. Hey, that's great. Without hesitation, Chuzi directly chose to convert. With his choice, his merit points suddenly decreased by 300 points. At the same time, a circular light mask covered Sesshomaru, and then collapsed suddenly. Finally, it turned into a card the size of a playing card and flew into Chuzi's hand. Open black lens bracket Sesshomaru close black lens bracket. Origin: Warring States period demon story. Quality: Silver Gray Intermediate. Level: LV1 0/100. Experience points can be gained by killing powerful enough enemies. Ability 1. Perfect Demon Power. Sesshomaru, who has the purest dog demon bloodline, not only possesses the most perfect demon power, but also possesses powerful wrist strength and speed, and he can also transform into a huge demon dog form, possessing the power to destroy a country. Close black lens bracket. Ability 2. Tiantianya Explosive Fang. The immortal sword Tiantianya has the power to kill demons in the other world. It can save hundreds of people with one swing of the knife, and it also contains the power of Underworld Waning Moon Break. Destruction. The blade Blast Fang possesses endless destructive power, but because Sesshomaru has not grown enough, it cannot be used for the time being. Unlocked at LV5. Ability 3. Demon Martial Arts. Sesshomaru is good at using demon martial arts belonging to dog demons. Currently he has martial arts: Poison Flower Claw, Light Strike, Natural / Healing, Natural Barrier, Range Healing, Demonic / requires attack weapons, Underworld Zangetsu Break not unlocked, Explosive Fang Instant Kill requires Explosive Fang, Azure Dragon Break requires attack weapons, and level 55 5 close black lens bracket. Explanation: the most advanced mount has a card face. Close black lens bracket. Tip: servants cannot use the attribute enhancement bin to improve their attributes, but they can learn skills. The skills need to be practiced by themselves to increase their proficiency. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Because you made it possible for an existence that is impossible to surrender. Close black lens bracket. Your main mission has been completed, do you want to return? Ha ha. Looking at the attributes of Sesshomaru in the card, Chuzi laughed and felt happy. He felt that his idea of a super-dimensional army had already made a good start. The next thing to do was to go to the outside world to earn more merits, and then go to the reincarnation copy to use the Infinity Gauntlet to brainwash him. I'm such AF King Genius. Shamelessly bragging about himself, Chuzi released Sesshomaru from the card. Chuzi asked curiously as he watched Sesshomaru transforming into a body in the dim light. How do you feel? I lost consciousness for a moment, then woke up again. Frowning, Sesshomaru recalled the touch just now and felt a little unhappy. Although his soul was transformed by Chuzi, his arrogant character is still there. He didn't like the feeling of being in a small dark room. Is that so? I understand. Seeing his expression, Chuzi guessed what he was thinking, but he didn't say much. Don't always let your subordinates be dissatisfied, otherwise they will take advantage of them. Although after being transformed by the Infinity Gauntlet, this possibility is unlikely. But he didn't want to get off to a bad start. Get ready to go. Chuzi nodded to Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru, who knew what he was doing, gave a sharp look, and the whites of his eyes suddenly turned blood red, and he let out a wild growl. Roar! The burst of demonic energy enveloped Sesshomaru's body, forming a huge mist. The mist dissipated, and a giant white dog demon with a height of more than 5 meters and a length of more than 8 meters appeared in the tomb. The dog demon's neck, limbs and tail have flying cloud-like manes, and there are demon patterns in the shape of a waning moon on its forehead. It has thick limbs and sharp teeth. At a glance, you can tell that it is an incredible killing machine. However, in front of Chuzi, he did not stab him, but bowed his huge head very obediently. So good. Touching the giant dog's chin, Chuzi jumped up, jumped on Sesshomaru's broad back and sat down cross-legged. Let's go. Upon hearing his order, Sesshomaru roared, jumped into the sky, and flew towards the space vortex in the sky. Wait a moment. Kikio was anxious after seeing this scene. He quickly took out the paper crane, activated his spiritual power to enlarge it, and sat on it. She didn't want the Shikan jade to leave her sight. Exclamation mark. Don't forget me. Inuyasha, the slowest to react and the only one who couldn't fly, ran away when he saw Kikio. He quickly used the nearby skeletons to jump up and down, and finally caught the platycodon origami crane's tail. Hey, let go, you're too heavy. Feeling the origami suddenly sinking, Kikio turned his head and punched Inuyasha hard on the head. It hurts. Inuyasha's head is very iron and hard. But under Platycodon's fist full of spiritual power, a big bump still swelled up. Please, take me with you. Sesshomaru has been kidnapped. I can't ignore it. Although Sesshomaru often bullied him, Inuyasha still couldn't turn a blind eye to his brother's plight. He could only beg hard now, hoping not to be thrown away by this woman. It's not my business. Glancing coldly at the hard-headed half-demon, Kikio silently pulled out an arrow. Give you a chance, now, let go immediately, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. Gritting his teeth, he glanced at the space vortex that was not very far away. Inuyasha used his arms to swing himself out. Call out. Kikio, who didn't expect him to do this move at all, could only watch as he disappeared into the space vortex. Good for you. His face darkened, and Kikio felt unhappy. She activated her spiritual power, and the paper crane under her accelerated and rushed out of the space vortex. Lord Kikio. As soon as he escaped from the space vortex, Kikio saw a group of villagers surrounding the exit. They saw Platycodon escaping from the space vortex and quickly gathered around. What's wrong? Seeing the appearance of the villagers, Kikio frowned and asked. Lord Platycodon, a huge dog demon just escaped from here. Then another monster with dog ears followed. That huge dog demon was so scary. It killed many other demons directly. So is that weird monster in the back. Listening to the villagers' busy discussions, Kikio's expression changed. You said that giant dog demon escaped. Where did he escape? In that direction, that's where the guy with the dog ears ran. A villager pointed in a direction and said. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a strong wind blowing. Platycodon rose into the sky and flew in that direction. Well, there's actually no need to chase him. The villager stared blankly at Kikio, who turned into a small dot and finally disappeared into the horizon. He turned around and looked at each other in confusion with the other villagers. Did I say the wrong thing? Probably not. Others hesitated. Little did they know that Platycodon at this time had already embarked on a journey to track Chuzi, never to return. Sesshomaru, what other powerful monsters and characters are there in this country? Sitting cross-legged on Sesshomaru's back, Chuzi crossed his arms and asked. As for monsters, the Yamata no Orochi of Izumo country is probably the strongest. The slippery demon of Kyoto is also pretty good. The dragon bone spirit sealed by my father is also a strong one. Shutenduji is also a very powerful big monster. The strongest human beings include the great Onmyoji Anbei Seimei who is based in Kyoto, the second-class Miyamoto Musashi, the Akechi Zamasu who has the power of ghosts and gods, the swordsman Ashina Ishin of Ashina country, and the demon slayer Team Hino the swordsman succeeds the country. Apart from them, the only ones left are the so-called gods in Takamagahara, but most of the ones who walked around during the Warring States period were the god of war and the god of Fukutsu. These guys are very strong. Soaring in the sky, Sesshomaru spat out all the information he knew. Oh, it's really lively. After hearing the information he told, Chuzi raised his eyebrows. So is that Miyamoto Musashi a man or a woman? Quote question mark quote. After hearing this question, Sesshomaru's head was full of questions. He wondered if Chuzi was out of his mind for asking such a common-sense question. But in the end he answered the question obediently. Man, oh, it seems that this world is relatively normal. Nodding, Chu Sheng was a little regretful after confirming that this person had entered without the rules of Xingyu. In fact, he still hopes to meet those heroic spirits who have been transformed into women. It's a pity that the environment does not allow it. So between us now, which strong man is closer? Since he can't have fun, Chuzi can only return his attention to the main task. At present, it seems that the best way for him to complete the main mission is to challenge the strong. The more he challenges, the more famous he becomes, the better. What he needs to do now is simple. Just looking for someone to fight. No matter if the other party is human, demon or god. It doesn't matter. The current location is 4, closest to the sealed dragon bone essence. After moving his eyes and checking the surrounding environment, Sesshomaru spoke. That's it, let's go. Don't worry about those guys in the back. At this time, Sesshomaru suddenly spoke. No need, does the other party have any ill intentions? If they like to follow, just let them follow. Smiling slightly, Chuzi knew who Sesshomaru was talking about. He shook his head and said indifferently. All right. After listening to his words, Sesshomaru nodded, adjusted his direction, and flew towards the direction in his memory. The direction has changed again. Where are they going? At this time, several kilometers away, Inuyasha twitched his nose and kept leaping forward, following the smell left in the sky. This tracking has been going on all day. During this time, he didn't eat a bite of food, and only swallowed a few mouthfuls of water when passing by the river. Now he is tired and hungry. But can't stop. Although he ran very fast, he was still worse than Faye. He knew that if he stopped for a long time, once the smell left in the air dissipates, he will really not be able to find Sesshomaru. Therefore, he could only endure his hunger and exhaustion and keep tracking. He didn't notice it, high in the sky above him. A paper crane has been following him from a distance. Very good, it seems that I haven't lost him yet, and I made the right choice to follow him. Kikio left the village and immediately gave chase. It's a pity that she left a little late and Chuzi was nowhere to be found. Fortunately, she accidentally discovered Inuyasha, who was also chasing Sesshomaru. And discovered that Inuyasha actually had the ability to track Sesshomaru. So she made the simplest choice. Follow Inuyasha. Facts have proved that her choice was correct. After several changes of direction, Inuyasha was always able to find the direction Chuzi left as quickly as possible. Mr. Chu, I will definitely win the 4 Souls Jade this time. Taking out the dry food from the package, Kikio secretly made up her mind while eating. Arrived. At this time, on the other half, Sesshomaru stopped at the foot of a cliff. Is this the dragon bone spirit? Looking at the dragon-shaped monster that was nailed to the mountain wall by a huge fang and fell into a state of suspended animation, Chuzi narrowed his eyes slightly. The dragon-shaped monster in front of him had a human face on his forehead, and the monster energy contained in his body was even stronger than Sesshomaru. However, his overall aura was very sluggish and rigid. Obviously, because of being sealed, the demonic energy temporarily lost its activity. So weak, he stood up and jumped onto the fangs nailed to Dragon Bone Demon's body. Chuzi raised his hand and grabbed the fangs, his palm suddenly suffocating with strength. Click. There was a crisp sound, and cracks appeared from where he pressed. Click, click, click. Good, good, good. A series of crisp sounds came, and countless branch cracks suddenly spread on this crack, covering the entire fang in an instant. Snap. There was an explosion, and the cracked fangs shattered into a pile of fragments and fell to the ground. Hold head high. As the fangs cracked, the dragon bone spirit, which had been lifeless just now, suddenly lit up with a trace of blood in its eyes, and suddenly let out a dragon roar. Boom! Yun Konglong. Even though the dragon bone spirit was not a real dragon, his awakening still caused changes in the celestial phenomena. Thick dark clouds appeared from nowhere. Jumping lightning can be seen jumping in thick clouds. Under the flickering light of thunder, the dragon bone spirit broke free from the shackles of the mountain wall amidst the tremors. Appeared in front of Chuzi. The feeling of being alive. A deep voice sounded. The human face on the dragon bone spirit's head opened its eyes. His eyes moved and he looked at Chuzi, who had shattered his fangs and fell to the ground, with a cruel smile on his face. What a blessing to have a delicious little dessert as soon as you wake up. Rumble. Just by simply moving his body, the rocks on the cliff cracked. Dragon Bone Spirit lowered his head and looked greedily at Chuzi with his big and small eyes. Come on, it's your honor to be your Uncle Dragon Bone Spirit's delicacy. You will become a part of my body and live with me forever. Poof. Before long Gujing finished speaking, he found that the delicious dessert in front of him suddenly disappeared. The next moment, he felt a pain in his head, as if he had been slapped with all his strength by the former canine general. He was immediately kicked out. It rolled and flattened a large area of the forest not far away. Damn, the iron-headed boy Dragon Bone Demon had a huge dent in his face, but he got up like a dragon without any problems. While yelling angrily, he looked for Chuzi. Although he didn't see clearly the way Chuzi attacked just now, he knew that the beating he received was definitely caused by the human kid. But before he could finish his roar, Chuzi had already silently arrived right above his head. A battle axe strike struck him into the ground again. Smoke and dust exploded into the sky. The Dragon Bone Spirit awkwardly smashed a big hole into the ground again. Don't underestimate me, you bastard. Bang. Still a familiar muffled sound, still a familiar smell. The Dragon Bone Demon's huge body once again made a big hole in the ground. The next moment, dense fist shadows and leg wind enveloped him. Chuzi seemed to have cast a clone technique. He punched and kicked Dragon Bone Demon's huge body. Neither infuriating energy nor fluctuations were used. Simply relying on the strength of his body, Chu pressed the Dragon Bone essence to the ground and rubbed it wantonly. The overwhelming power caused Dragon Bone Spirit to fall into a state of downtime. Who I am? What happened? Why was I, a noble monster, beaten with fists and kicks by humans? This unscientific. It's really hard to beat. One punch left a dent the size of a bathtub on Long Gujing's body. Chuzi laughed an afterimage on the spot and jumped to the head of Dragon Bone Demon, and whipped out one of his big teeth with a whip. Feeling the faint counter-shock force from the Dragon Bone Spirit's tough body, Chuzi couldn't help but sigh. If he were an ordinary being, he would have been beaten by him for such a long time. I'm afraid it's been turned into a pulp. But the somewhat deformed dragon-shaped monster in front of him was incredibly strong. I just suffered a minor injury that was neither painful nor itchy. The general's truth is explained incisively and vividly. Boom. With another punch, Dragon Bone Demon's head was pulled to the side, and the roaring bomb of demonic energy that he wanted to counterattack flew in another direction, blasting a deep pit into the ground. Chuzi made a few leaps and distanced himself from it. Damn little bug. Are you tired? Haha, I can't be defeated so easily. The face in the middle of Dragon Bone Demon's head now looked miserable, with a bruised nose and swollen face, because Chuzi was beating his hand just now, and he often greeted him at the place where he knew it was a weak point at a glance. It's quite durable, so I'm not going to make fun of it anymore. After moving his neck, Chuzi made a clicking sound. Looking at the fierce-looking Dragon Bone Demon in front of him, Chuzi slowly pulled out the long knife from his waist. Destroy it completely, eventually destroy it. A low chant sounded, and the long knife in Chuzi's hand lit up with a dense light. At the same time, the rune of destruction in Chuzi's sea of consciousness shines brightly. Buzz. In the low sound of swords, the shape of the long knife in Chuzi's hand suddenly changed. From a long sword, it was transformed into a sharp long sword with a straight blade and a sharp blade. This sword is unremarkable. There are no grand sound and light effects at all. But with the appearance of this sword, the whole world is shaking. Because the meaning of this sword is destruction. Pointing directly to the ultimate destruction of the avenue. Completed the first interpretation of Zanpakudo, final destruction. Chuzi felt that the Junwu Gangchi in his body poured out like a flood, and was sucked in by the long sword in his hand. In just a few seconds, he consumed 1/10 of his true martial arts energy. This kind of consumption cannot be replenished even if he has communicated with the void. Chuzi estimated that he could only maintain the initial level of the sword for 3 minutes at most. Disappear. Chuzi, who discovered this, was no longer wasting time. He raised his sword and swung it, and a mediocre crescent-shaped sword energy shot out of the air. It directly hit the upper body of Dragon Bone Demon. Silent and silent. The upper body of Dragon Bone Spirit hit by the sword energy was like a picture erased by an eraser. It disappeared without a trace, leaving not even a trace. The sword energy that wiped out the upper body of Dragon Bone Spirit did not stop. It cut through mountains and mountains, encountered clouds and broke through clouds, and finally disappeared into the horizon, leaving only a clean trace of erasure. Kill the Dragon Bone Demon and get 55,000 points. Close black lens bracket. With a flash of light, the Zanpakuto in Chuzi's hand returned to its original state. Feeling that 1/3 of his true martial arts energy had been consumed, he sheathed the sword. There is no doubt about the power of final destruction. But it consumes too much. His current state is not enough to fully control this sword. It's still not strong enough. The more you practice, the more you can discover your own weaknesses. The broader Chuzi's horizons are now, the more he understands how difficult it is to attribute great power to oneself. Time, resources, talent, opportunity. Indispensable. Fortunately, he has all these things. Then, get ready to go. Solve the Dragon Bone Demon and gain a wave of points. Chuzi was just about to set off when he noticed a figure appearing at the scene. Caught up. The gray-headed Inuyasha looked at Sesshomaru, who had transformed into a giant dog, and Chuzi, who had his sword in its sheath, with a serious face. Sesshomaru, what are you doing? Why are you following this person? Where has your arrogance gone? Inuyasha was smart. He did not attack Chuzi rashly because he knew that his own strength was not Chuzi's opponent. But he knew how to stimulate Sesshomaru. After being the younger brother who had been pressed to the ground and rubbed for so many years, he knew Sesshomaru's character very well. Unfortunately, he missed one thing. That is, what Chuzi did was even more outrageous than he imagined. Go away, bastard. After hearing his taunt, Sesshomaru did not show any emotional change, but uttered such words indifferently. What? Inuyasha's eyes widened in disbelief. He never thought that Sesshomaru, who had always been extremely arrogant, would not feel the slightest discomfort at being enslaved. Instead, he turned around and tied up outsiders to talk. This is outrageous. Inuyasha felt like his brain was running out of energy. Brush. The next second, Inuyasha suddenly flashed Sesshomaru in front of his eyes and flew away. Bang bang bang. Then there was a series of explosions. Inuyasha broke a bunch of trees and wandered deep into the woods. I'm sorry, master, for frightening you. Putting down the paw that was patting flying Inuyasha, Sesshomaru turned his head and said respectfully. Haha, you do love your brother, but there's no need to do this next time. I'm not planning to take action against him. Chuzi smiled meaningfully and jumped onto Sesshomaru's broad back. Let's go, next target. Yes, quote. Lowering his head slightly, Sesshomaru jumped up and took off again. At this time, in the sky on the other side, Platycodon was catching up from a distance. Finally, I caught you. Looking at Sesshomaru's figure in the distance, Kikio's spirits perked up. He quickly urged the paper crane to catch up. After such a long period of tracking, even she felt very tired. Now she just wants to recover the Four Souls Jade as soon as possible. This guy is really annoying. Sitting on Sesshomaru's back, Chuzi felt the aura of pursuit behind him, shook his head and sighed. Master, do you need me to eliminate her? Sesshomaru moved his eyes and glanced behind him, and said indifferently. Unlike Inuyasha, who can still be merciful, he had no sympathy for Platycodon at all. In Sesshomaru's view, human beings are extremely fragile bugs that can be easily crushed to death. No, it's a waste of time. Waving his hand, Chuzi raised his left hand, and the space gem of the Infinity Gauntlet suddenly lit up. The next moment, he and Sesshomaru disappeared into the space wormhole at the same time. Kikio, who saw this scene from behind, was dumbfounded. With her knowledge, she can tell that Chuzi is using some kind of space jump method. She knows how to do this. However, her spatial transfer requires a long period of time to locate the spatial coordinates, adjust her own spiritual power, and then slowly complete the transfer through resonance. I have never seen a space transfer method as playful as Chuzi's. The most important thing is, just have fun. Why is this ridiculous teleportation so far away? In addition to being able to sense a general direction, Kikio. I can't feel anything else. Oh, given Platycodon's character, he couldn't help but speak up after discovering this. Now she was a little hesitant to continue tracking. After all, this young man from the Great Ming Dynasty can even use the outrageous ability of space transfer to come and go as he pleases. She has no confidence at all to catch up with him now. Chase. But in the end, Platycodon did not choose to give up, but controlled the paper crane to chase after Chu Qian again along the aura left by the Four Souls Jade. Although she didn't know if she could catch up, but she knew that if she didn't pursue it, she would never get over the hurdle in her heart. Paper cranes soar. Time passes day by day. Apart from taking a nap at night, Platycodon spends all the rest of his time on the road. However, she did not always use paper cranes. Although her spiritual power was powerful, it was not infinite. In order to be able to persevere, she bought a horse to replace her leg strength, and kept chasing along the mysterious feeling of the Four Souls Jade. During the chase, she passed through many cities. I also heard a lot of news. The protagonist of these messages is mostly the same person. 0.00. This person is none other than Chu Zi. Hey, have you heard that the July Devil from the Great Ming Dynasty challenged Miyamoto Musashi, the best in the world, some time ago, and won? Of course I know. I also heard that he challenged the great Onmyoji Anbei Seimei in Kyoto, and slew Anbei Seimei's 12 Shikigami with his sword, suppressing the entire Onmyoji world in Kyoto in one fell swoop. Your information is out of date. Don't you know that the 7th heavenly demon was besieged by the 6th heavenly demon King Oda Nobunaga some time ago? One man killed Nobunaga's phantom army and beheaded Oda Nobunaga on the spot. Oda Nobunaga's territory is now divided between the Tokugawa family and the Toyotomi family. Now these two families have announced that as long as the July Devil is willing to join their family, they are willing to marry their most beautiful princess to him as a concubine. Click. There was a crisp sound. One of the commenting diners turned his head in confusion. They saw a woman wearing a big bamboo hat and a witch costume breaking the teacup in her hand. Bill, please. The one wearing a bamboo hat is none other than Platycodon grandiflorum. Chasing Chu Zi. After chasing Chu Zi for nearly a month, she heard most of all the scandals and rumors about this guy. She gets angry every time she hears these rumors. It's not because of jealousy, but because I feel that I have worked so hard to chase him here. As a result, this guy is living happily everywhere. From this comparison, the perception comes out. Even with Kikio's indifferent mood, she couldn't help but feel angry. I wanted to shoot him in the head with the arrow in my hand. At this time, Chu Zi sat cross-legged on Sesshomaru's back, counting his harvest. So many days have passed. He is not just challenging the strong. At the same time he was also hunting. Hunt the powerful weapons, skills, and various props. For losers, he could spare the other person's life, but he couldn't let them go easily. As money for selling your life. He confiscated all the treasures from these guys. As for whether doing this would offend these defeated generals, Chu Han didn't care at all. The loser is the loser. If you are even afraid of the grudge of such a defeated weakling, then he doesn't have to hang around in the reincarnation space. 2 days of top quality, Shikigami drills, astronomy operations, demon sword Muramasa, phantom armor, these guys are really fat. Looking at the red props in the storage space, Mose couldn't help but smile happily. But at this moment, a large wave of demonic energy suddenly rose into the sky, blocking his way. The one in front is the July demon, and the leader of the Nuliang group, the slippery ghost, is here to visit. Stop it quickly. The mist-like monster energy rolled, revealing hundreds of densely packed monsters. The one shouting was a crow tengu with 2 wings on its back and the head of a bird. He holds a tin staff and is dressed like a monk. But the whole demon exudes a ruthless air of, I am the one who deserves to be fooled. Facing these guys, both Chu Zi and Sesshomaru, who was under him, chose to ignore them. Because in their perception, these majestic-looking monsters all have silver-like sharp spearheads with low strength. If they really wanted to kill them, they would be able to kill them all in just a few breaths. Don't underestimate me, bastard. Seeing Chu Zi being so disrespectful, Crow Tengu suddenly felt humiliated. There were veins on his forehead, and he rushed toward Chu Zi with a gust of demonic wind. Boom! There was a muffled sound. A flash of 3-color electric light blasted him into the air. Such a horrifying scene made all the monsters present take a few steps back. although they have all heard that Chuzi is powerful. But they didn't take it seriously. After all, Chuzi has mainly dealt with the strong men in the human camp recently. In the eyes of monsters, human beings are inherently no match for monsters. No matter how strong you are, your strength is limited. The reason why he was stopped today was simply because he had a relatively high reputation recently, and they wanted to increase the reputation of the newer group by suppressing him. But they never expected that Chuzi's strength was much stronger than they imagined. Even the most powerful Crow Tengu among them could not stop his casual attack. Seeing Chuzi riding a giant dog leisurely forward, the hundreds of ghosts surrounding him couldn't help but retreat again and again. Seeing their cowardly appearance, Chuzhe couldn't help but smile contemptuously. Poof! The next second, his heart was penetrated by a long knife stabbed from behind. Ahem! Suddenly coughing out a large mouthful of blood, Chuzi turned his head in disbelief. He saw a figure rippling out of the air like a reflection in water. RR! Chuzi's voice was hoarse with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Seeing his appearance, the young man who appeared from behind him stood up and pulled out the long knife from Chuzi's chest. My name is Nuliang Haleao, the master of demons, the leader of the Nuliang group, and the seventh demon of the Ming dynasty. Your biggest mistake is that you should not come to Kyoto to challenge. Don't you know that Kyoto is my territory? Nuliang Hua Piao's voice was very cold, with a touch of domineering air. His appearance stimulated the other monsters in the slave group to howl in excitement. Your territory, so what? But at this moment, a calm voice sounded. In the disbelief eyes of the monsters, Chuzi stood up as if nothing was wrong, and the wound on his chest healed quickly as if time had gone backwards, without even a trace of blood remaining. He looked at the horrified Nuliang Hua with a ferocious smile, as well as the other monsters with frightened faces. Chuzi slowly pulled out the long knife from his waist. Come on, let me see how strong you are. Oh! Feeling Chuzi's monster-like powerful aura, Nuliang Hualao's face turned ugly. He knew how difficult the human being in front of him was. Possessing the powerful invisibility technique of Zhen Mingjing Shisui, he witnessed the entire battle between him and Anhuan Qingming. This monster was a werewolf who held Anbei Qingming's 12 Shikishin and pinned Anbei Qingming to the ground and beat him. If he was asked to fight this monster, he had no confidence at all. It seems we have to find those suspicious guys for help. Since I was unsure, I naturally had to look for backup at this time. As a mixed society monster, Nara Wabo is never rigid in doing things. He quietly drew a prop from his sleeve. It was a kunai. The kunai has a double-pronged gauntlet, and the handle of the kunai has the words, Sword of Endless Love. Holding this kunai, Nara Kusho was just about to inject energy into the method that the stranger handed him, and activate this item. But the next moment, he suddenly felt his hands were empty. The kunai had disappeared from his hand. Is this what you're looking for? Chuzi looked at the Flying Thunder God kunai in his hand and couldn't help but smile. He originally thought that he would never meet fellow villagers from Lord God Town in this world, but it seemed that he was overthinking it. VR. Snapped. Before Nuliang Hua Piao could say anything, Jitu snapped his fingers. The 6 gems on the Infinity Gauntlet flashed. It represents the sudden explosion of the power of erasure. All the demons present turned into fly ash and disappeared into the air. Whether it's a weak starving ghost or a powerful monster, under the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, they will only end up turning into ashes. Sure enough, it's better to kill the enemies and so on. Look at the series of prompts for earning points that pop up in the reincarnation brand. Chuzi waved, and a long knife falling from the sky fell into his hand. This is a white sheath. That is, a long knife without a tandem or a knife rope, and the whole body is wrapped by a wooden sheath and handle. This kind of knife is not suitable for fighting because it does not have a hand guard to protect it. But for masters, hand guards are simply insignificant things. The name of this white sheath is Miyaki Maru. It is Nura Lao's favorite sword. He just used this knife to penetrate Chuzi's heart. Unfortunately, against a loser like Chuzi, a mere heart-piercing attack has no effect at all. In the end, he ended up dead. The next step is to deal with these guys. Raising the Flying Thunder God kunai in his hand, the space gem in Chuzi's left hand flashed. With the effect of the space gem, Chuzi's perception was connected to another place through the time and space spell of the Flying Thunder God kunai. Hey, found it. He clenched his left fist and the light flashed. Chuzi took Seshomaru and disappeared. Wait until they show up again. We have arrived at a dilapidated manor. In the manor, 5 men wearing various equipment were having a barbecue in front of a fire, looking leisurely and contented. However, when they saw the huge Seshomaru appearing inexplicably in their hiding place, they all opened their mouths in confusion. They couldn't understand why this great monster from the Warring States period suddenly came to their lair. This is too unscientific, especially when they saw the reorganization and jumped off Seshomaru's back. Their confusion turned directly into horror. They really couldn't imagine what kind of person he was that could allow a character as arrogant as Seshomaru to act as a mount. Who are you? Seeing Chuzi walking towards them step by step, the vicissitudes of life man in the Fuso warrior uniform in the group of 5 stood up and asked sternly. Does it matter who I am? You are all going to die anyway. Chuzi looked at the 5 people who had stood up and looked at him with murderous expressions, grinned, and raised his left hand. Here, let me show you a big baby. The light of the mind gem suddenly lit up. The powerful power of mental distortion directly made these 5 reincarnations fall into confusion. Okay, hand over all your props, equipment and points. Looking at the 5 confused people, Chuzi raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Yes, with a dull reply, the 5 of them cleared their equipment and traded it to Chuzi. Not bad, fatter than expected. Looking at the extra hundreds of thousands of points, Chuzi nodded with satisfaction. Compared with the 2-star reincarnations, these 5 3-star reincarnations have much more money. Moreover, their equipment and props have also changed from the most common blue sky and white clouds to blue and purple. After counting the supplies in the hands of these 5 guys, Chuzi casually snapped his fingers, and the soul gem sent out a condensed soul shock wave, shattering their souls on the spot. These 5 people are all reincarnations from the hostile camp. There is no need to show mercy to such a guy. The bloody treasure chest was picked up from the corpses of these people. Chuzi turned to look at Seshomaru. He found that Seshomaru was looking in the east direction with a serious look on his face. What's wrong? Over there, I felt a powerful evil spirit. Seshomaru's nose twitched, and his nose suddenly wrinkled. Is it a monster? Isn't it normal? After being in this world for so many days, Chuzi has gradually become accustomed to the ubiquitous evil spirits in this country. It can be said that in this country, even a puddle of water placed in a place with strong resentment to Dajao can be transformed into a monster. Such an efficient conversion rate makes Chuzi a little curious about how people in this country survive. This time is different, this time the evil spirit is very strong. Seshomaru was still twitching his nose vigorously, identifying the characteristic aura of Yuki. Well, I know this. Not only is the other party very big, but he also has 8 heads. Chuzi crossed his arms and looked at the huge black shadow that loomed behind him, and narrowed his eyes slightly. With his powerful eyesight, Tianchao could see that the vaguely huge figure was a huge snake with 8 heads. At this time, it was carrying a large cloud of thick demonic energy and moving quickly in its direction. Yamata no Orochi. Fuso is the most famous and powerful extremely evil beast in mythology. 8 heads and 8 tails. Its size is so large that it can fill 8 valleys and 8 hills. There are clouds above my head and I am covered with moss. The head is like a dragon and the eyes are like red lights. Abdomen stained with blood. It is full of the fearful aura and ferocious appearance of a big boss. As he approaches, the powerful and rich demonic aura gradually filled the air. Seshomaru, who felt this demonic aura, couldn't help but take a few steps back. The limbs are a little shaky. It's Yamata no Orochi. Seshomaru was arrogant, but he was not stupid. He understands it very well, compared to Yamata no Orochi. Even the dragon bone spirit who can fight his dead ghost father back and forth is a little earthworm who can't get on the stage. Now this demon rank number 1 in Fuso is actually moving in the direction where he is. He felt a little panicked. Master, let's withdraw. Seeing the Yamata no Orochi approaching rapidly, Seshomaru couldn't help but persuade him. But in the next second, he suddenly felt a terrifying aura erupting from his master's body that moved him to the extreme. Dang, 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 a ringing bell echoed in the air. A huge gold-red dial appeared from under your feet, and the hour and minute hands of the dial continued to unfold with the deep and old electronic sound. Blessing time. The most benevolent. The most good. The most high. The most powerful king. The exploding ground continuously shot out bursts of hot magma-type energy times. A golden clockwork ring surrounds Chuzi. OHMAZIO. Meet the demon king of time. The dial and the energy converge at the same time, converging on the hair chart king in the center. Accompanied by the breakage of the clockwork, Chuzi, wearing gold and black armor, appeared on the scene. Seshomaru, please step back first. Through the observation effect of the observation window, looking at the terrifying and powerful demonic energy of Yamata no Orochi, Z raised his hand to wave. With Seshomaru's current strength, he simply cannot participate in the battle between him and Yamata no Orochi. Even if it accidentally affects him, it may kill him. For the sake of his own horse, Chuzi decided to recall him. Yes, master. Seshomaru could see the situation clearly, nodded honestly, turned into a card and fell into Chuzi's hands. Then the next step is my work match. Putting away the cards, Chuzi flew up with a thought, and rushed towards Yamata no Orochi like a meteor. At the same time as Chuzi was dispatched, the 8 heads of the Yamata no Orochi turned in his direction at the same time, and made a terrifying roar. Roar. The expanding sound wave formed a twisted shock wave, tearing apart and destroying everything in front. However, when these sound waves were about to contact Chuzi, they seemed to have been cast by deceleration magic, gradually slowing down to a stop and dissipating. It's rude to come without reciprocating. Try this. Using the extra-dimensional banishment to remove all the noise from Yamata no Orochi, Chuzi raised his head, and released a red heat ray through the red eye observation window. Chi-chi. Dark clouds rose, blocking the thermal energy rays. Yamata no Orochi didn't even have the ability to use defense. He blocked the eye rays of the demon sealing armor with just his protective demonic energy. Interesting. Seeing this, Chuzi was not surprised but happy. He hasn't faced such a strong opponent for a long time. Yamata no Orochi's current performance surprised him a little. I hope you can hold on a little longer. As soon as he stepped on his feet, a circular air wave erupted. Chuzi's body overflowed with arrogance, flashing with black electric light, and he continued to accelerate towards Yamata no Orochi, galloping away. Ouch! Feeling Chuzi's aura, Yamata no Orochi's red snake pupils flashed with ferocious light. This little bug that smelled like delicious food, he could smell it from a long way away. It was precisely because of this that it woke up from its deep sleep and came to this place. But it didn't expect that this little bug that should have stayed there obediently, waiting for it to be devoured, would actually dare to resist. And judging from the aura he is exuding now, it actually gives him a slight sense of threat. Yes, just a little bit of a sense of threat. Yamata no Orochi would never admit that her heart was beating rapidly, constantly reminding her that the humans in front of her were dangerous. Opening his mouth wide, the rich demonic energy gathered in his throat. Yamata no Orochi's blood-red eyes locked on Chuzi, who was changing direction up and down, and then released the demonic aura that had been accumulated for a long time. Boom! Thick beams of deep purple light tinged with blood red spurted out, completely submerging Chuzi's position. The afterglow of several beams of light hit the nearby mountains. Along with the loud explosion, several mountains were pierced by the evil breath of Yamata no Orochi on the spot. The wanton and high-spirited demonic energy spreads and expands like a sea tide. It actually enveloped the entire Izumo kingdom. Under the influence of this demonic energy, the eyes of various beasts in this country lit up with blood-red light, their fangs and claws continued to proliferate, and traces of demonization appeared on their bodies. What a terrifying evil spirit this is! Is this the Yamata no Orochi? On the edge of Izumo country, a blonde woman wearing ancient Japanese armor and riding a white tiger narrowed her eyes slightly. With her movement, the cherry blossom earrings on her ears lit up, and a series of Japanese-style ukiyo-e text interfaces jumped out. Evil spirit value, extremely fierce. Power value, extremely high. Danger level, the highest. Combat opinions, unite more than 10 martial gods to carry out a crusade. Close black lens bracket. What do you think, Fujin God? Bishaman turned his eyes and looked to the other side. There, a young man wearing a black kimono with blue eyes was staring at the direction of the Yamata no Orochi and uttered a word coldly. Kill. Oh. After hearing what the god of disaster named Yato said, Bishaman couldn't help but curled his lips. Of course she knew to kill. But the mission she received was not to kill Yamata no Orochi, but to kill the outsider who caused big trouble in Kyoto. This foreigner attacked forcefully and beat the Kyoto yin-yang head Anbei Seimei and the sword master Miyamoto Musashi on the spot. This series of operations is a fatal blow to faith. At least in the eyes of the people, this warrior from the country next door was actually so strong. Then the god of war in this country is definitely much stronger than the god of war in our own country. In this case, why not give the incense to the stronger god of war? As for whether the god of war of the Ming dynasty would come to protect their followers in this small barbarian country, no one cares. After all, even if you believe in your own country's god of war, he has never seen his own country's god of war appear in front of him. This kind of idea, as this foreigner does more and more things, spreads more and more widely. The first person who couldn't sit still was the local martial god like Bishamon. After all, the ones who are most directly affected by their faith are the 7 lucky gods like her who also hold the position of god of war. In order to preserve your faith and prevent it from disappearing due to the gradual loss of faith, Bishamon immediately left Takamagahara and followed the unique information channels of the 8 million gods to the forbidden land of this god, a country of demons ruled by Yamata no Orochi. Drink. There was a loud shout. The expanded Qi Jin formed a spherical force, which stretched out the surrounding demon Qi light pillars. With his hands stretched out, Chuzi's whole body was surrounded by a trace of white mist. That is the phenomenon of being corrupted by the breath of demonic energy. However, the demon sealing armor on Chuzi was not damaged at all. The demon sealing armor not only has powerful attack methods, but also has indestructible strength. Even if it is to resist the attack of Yamata no Orochi, it is not weak at all. It's not over yet, is it? Looking at the demonic light beams, Chuzi in the center opened his hand and held infinity in his hand. Just right, try this trick again. He raised the thumb of his left hand and slowly wiped it across the infinite blade. Let the circulation flow. Time. The green glow turned into lightning-like lines, spreading from the handle to the tip of the knife. 0. Fragments of lightning flashed, and infinity's form suddenly transformed from a long sword into a thin sword. The blade of the rapier is like a needle, and the hilt has a guard. The guard is round and has 12-hour marks. Stop it. Holding this long sword, Chuzi felt that his understanding of time suddenly improved. In an instant, it seemed as if I had jumped out of the long river of time. Visually see the flow of the entire river of time. Although only one glance. But with just one glance, his perception of time suddenly reached its limit. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Observation of wonders. The long river of time. Close black lens bracket. Your skill. Time operation level improvement. Close black lens bracket. Dark gold superior right pointing arrow legend katakana middle dot superior. Attribute 1. Time domain. The range is increased to 1000 meters, the time flow rate multiplier is increased to 100 times, and the maximum time stop time is 60 seconds. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 2. Time affinity. The effectiveness of time props is increased by 50 times. Close black lens bracket. Attribute 3. Blessing of time. Immune to any time damage below legend, time damage above legend is reduced by 80%, and time-related gain effects are increased tenfold. Close black lens bracket. Acquire special killing skills. Time flash can cause time corrosion attack effect on the target. The moment of realization is fleeting. Chuzi came to his senses again, and when he looked at Yamata no Orochi again, all he felt was insignificance. Although in terms of strength, Yamata no Orochi is definitely not a small being. But compared with the vast river of time, its existence is not even a particle of dust. Stop it. As Chuzi finished speaking, time suddenly came to a standstill. The surging demonic energy spurted out, and the purple and black light fragments sputtered. And the ferocious expression of Yamata no Orochi. They were all like insects solidified in amber, standing motionless. Stepping on the void, he walked slowly to the Yamata no Orochi. Chuzi casually inserted the time in his hand into the head of Yamata no Orochi. The scales and bones, which were harder than steel, could not produce any blocking effect, and were easily broken through by the long sword. However, the length of time is too small compared to the thick scales and bones of the Yamata no Orochi, and it cannot even penetrate its bones and penetrate into its brain. Ah! Chuzi didn't panic at all when he found this, and silently twisted the long sword in his hand. Click, click, click. It was accompanied by a sound like clockwork being wound up. A dense light suddenly lit up, wrapping the head of Yamata no Orochi. The radiance circulated, and the head of Yamata no Orochi seemed to have experienced tens of millions of years of corrosion in an instant. It quickly decayed and dried up, and finally turned into a mottled skeleton. Flashes on and off. Time attack skills. As long as there is a lifespan, no one can defeat the end of time. And this attack accelerates this process. First, brush. The figure flashed, and Chuzi appeared again, already on the other head of the Yamata no Orochi. Time is turned back and thrust straight down. The head was corroded by time and turned into a miserable and ugly skeleton. The second, the figure flashed again, and one head after another turned into skeletons, decaying on the spot. Until the last head is left. Time stop's effectiveness has finally come to an end. Ouch! Yamata no Orochi, who resumed his actions, immediately let out a weak scream, and hit the ground with only one of his heads left. Just because it has 8 heads doesn't mean it has 8 lives. With 7 of its heads destroyed, it has now entered a state of half-death. It stared at Chuzi suspended in the air with its huge eyeballs, opened its mouth weakly, and said in a trembling voice, "Spare me, I'm willing to pay any price." As he spoke, he moved his tail with difficulty and placed it in front of Chuzi. "Here is a divine sword that was born with me. Let me go, and I am willing to give it to you." Yamata no Orochi's voice was pleading, but in the next second, a condensed and unparalleled sword energy shot out of the air and cut off his head on the spot. Kill Yamata no Orochi and get 11,000 points. Close black lens bracket. If I kill you, I can get anything. With a flash of light, the King of Time's armor turned into light mist and disappeared. Chuzi held it and restored the infinity of the sword shape. With a wave of his hand, a sharp blade slashed directly at the Yamata no Orochi's tail. When, accompanied by the sound of metal hitting. 0. Chuzi's sword energy broke from it. He looked up. It was discovered that in the middle of the tail, there was a long sword of pressed color shining with a warm light. Hey, found it. Taking 2 steps forward, Chuzi grabbed the Yamata no Orochi, cut off half of its tail and tore it apart with all his strength. The half of the tail was directly torn open, revealing a sword embedded in the snake bone inside. This sword is different from other tachi, but a double-edged sword similar to ancient Chinese swords. The sword body is jade white, the spine is thick, and the hilt is like a fish bone, showing a knot shape. He raised his hand to hold the sword and pulled it out from his tailbone. The Tien Kongyun sword that came out of its tailbone suddenly burst out with sword energy that was as sharp as a sword. The Yamata no Orochi's body was divided into 2 halves, and the Tien Kongyun sword that shot out sword energy trembled in Chuzi's hand, as if it was about to escape his control. But in the next second, the jade dish of creation in Chuzi's sea of consciousness suddenly flashed. As the jade disk of creation flashed, Chuzi had an idea in his mind, and controlled the Junwu Gangchi in his body to instantly complete a series of complex changes, turning it into a rune and injecting it into the Tiankong Yun sword. With the injection of this rune, Tiankong Yunjian, which had been unruly just now, like an undercooked wolf cub, instantly became as honest as an obedient golden retriever. Lying honestly in Chuzi's hands. Good. Feeling this, Chuzi raised his eyebrows and was just about to check the properties of this sword. At this moment, a sword energy that seemed to split the sky suddenly shot out. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, National Samsara. Start with an Infinity Glove. Chapter 141. When sparks fly, the 2 sharp divine weapons collided together, and the scattered energy formed an invisible impact, rolling up debris all over the sky. Is Fuso's spirit so rude when he attacks others without even saying hello? Chuzi, who blocked the slash with Tien Kong Yun's sword, looked at the blonde girl wearing Japanese-style clothing and suddenly used her arm to push it away. At the same time, she turned around and was caught by the whirlwind's heavy kick. Kicked towards the back. Boom! A storm of air appears. The boy in black kimono crossed his hands to block Chuzi's direct kick. However, the huge force still caused him to fly over behind him, leaving 2 scorched black marks on the ground with his feet. Or do you think you two can deal with me? The sword energy surged out from the sword flower, leaving a long and deep sword mark on the ground. 76th Transformation. Chuzi raised his head and said calmly, "Send your name, I won't kill unknown people." Takamagahara, Bishamontan. The blonde girl held the blade in both hands, horizontally to the side of her eyes, her purple eyes full of fierceness. Yato. The young man on the other side held a knife in one hand and had a cold expression on his face. "Ah, very good. Now that you have signed up, let me see how powerful the so-called god is." The Tian Kong Yun sword in his hand was turned upside down and struck directly on infinity, turning it into a ball of crystal chips and blending into it. Chuzi pulled out a long sword with his backhand and pointed it at the 2 martial gods of Gao Tianyuan, grinning. "Remember, 10,000 points." Bang bang. The ground exploded, and Bishaman and Yato disappeared at the same time. Then he appeared in front of Chuzi in an instant, and slashed Chuzi's head and waist with 2 knives. The speed is okay, but the strength is too weak. When the long knife was raised, blocking the 2 men's attacks, Chuzi grinned, turned around and punched behind him. Roar! A white tiger was punched by him and flew away. While flying into the air, the tiger's body was frozen into a lump of sky ice by Chuzi's heavenly thunder fist. It hit the ground and shattered into pieces of ice. Doma. Seeing this scene, Bishaman let out a cry like a cuckoo weeping blood. "Don't be distracted during the battle, woman." She ducked in front of Bishaman, and Chuzi punched her in the stomach. Boom. The penetrating force directly shattered her armor and opened a big hole in her back. Vomit. Facts have proven that no matter whether you are a woman or a goddess, you will vomit when you are beaten in the stomach. After being punched by Chuzi, Bishaman's mouth bulged, and a pile of filth came out on the spot. But she is lucky. When she was hit, Yato took action in time, allowing Chuzi to release less than 1/10 of the power of Chuzi's punch. Otherwise, if the power of Chuzi's punch just exploded, she would probably spit out more than just filth. Dang dang dang. The long knives intertwined and sparks flew everywhere. Chuzi's figure was swimming like a spiritual fish, constantly fighting against Yido. Good knife skills. Yato's sword skills are sharp, and his moves go straight to the critical point. It is a pure killing knife. There are no fancy moves, only simplicity, speed and effectiveness are pursued. Chuzi enjoyed playing against him. He was able to learn from Yato's sword skills. It is precisely because of this that he did not use too much strength to fight the opponent, but maintained the strength at the same level as him, which could bring pressure to him and would not defeat him. In this way, he can be like a juicer, constantly squeezing Yato's potential, allowing him to exert more power and launch more powerful attacks, and he can gain more experience from him. The sharp blade flew and slashed, and the tone was arbitrary. Compared to Chuzi's relaxation, Yato didn't feel comfortable at all. The human in front of me is simply a monster. Tougher than any demon he had ever killed. Strength, speed, skill, awareness. Every attribute is perfect. Yato felt that the reason why he could still fight with this guy now was really not because of his strength, but because the other person was letting loose and messing with him. He didn't know why the other party did this. But he knew that since the opponent did not defeat him directly, he would continue to fight. This is the meaning of his existence. Drink. At this time, Bishaman finally regained his composure. She gritted her teeth, held back the tears in her eyes, and rushed towards Chuzi crazily. The white tiger that Chuzi just killed was her magic weapon. The so-called artifact. They are undead, adopted by the gods and given pseudonyms. They can transform into artifacts at the call of the gods. Most of them are weapons, armors and accessories, and some are mounts. The rarer ones also have the attribute phenomenon of thunder, lightning, wind and fire. The white tiger killed by Chuzi was not only an artifact, but also a beacon among the artifacts. The role of the beacon is very important. It is to guide God's path forward so that God will not deviate. Its importance can even be described as half of God. It is precisely because of this that Bishaman lost control of his emotions because White Tiger was killed. Recovered. With a slight increase in force, Yato bounced away. Chuzi flicked his finger and directly hit Bishaman's newly arrived long sword. When the huge force shook the long sword, causing Bishaman to let go. At the same time, the screams of the sacred weapon, the long sword, could be heard in her heart. The flick of Chuzi's finger just now had already made the long knife full of cracks. Let's go back. Seeing this, Bishaman put away the long sword together with the armor, a sacred weapon that was also seriously injured. Then she turned her wrist, and 2 more short knives appeared in her hand. Hee. Seeing her unwillingness to admit defeat, Chuzi grinned and took a step back. Brush. As he retreated, a bottomless ravine appeared where he was standing just now. At the same time, more than a dozen figures suddenly appeared in the field. Most of these figures are wearing fuso gear and holding naginata and tachi in their hands. With a solemn look on his face, one could tell at a glance that the person coming 5.2 was not good. Chi Tianmo, don't go too far. This is not your Chinese Kyushu. It's time to leave after you've made enough trouble. The person who spoke was a big man from the tailed beast wearing red uniforms. He held a broadsword in his hand, and the aura rippling through his body was 10 times stronger than Yato and Bishaman combined. But even so, he did not attack, but looked at Chuzi warily. As Fuso's strongest god of destruction, his fighting instincts are stronger than those of both Yato and Bishaman. It was precisely because of this that he knew how terrifying Chuzi was. In his body, he felt a higher-end power than the power controlled by gods. The quantity of this power may not be much, but its quality is unprecedentedly condensed. If he were allowed to release this power, the 8 million gods in Gaoshan might not be able to come up with a round number. What if I say no? Feeling the lust of the strong man's spirit, Chuzi smiled badly. He is having fun now and has no thoughts of evacuating. As for whether he would offend the gods of Gao Tianyuan by doing so, he didn't care at all. The guys in front of me believe in gods and are really powerful. Although the energy in their bodies is much more than his. But if a fight breaks out, Chuzi is not afraid at all. The worst case scenario is to just cheat at full power and snap your fingers until you collapse. Then come right back. Chuzi believes that after a period of operations by himself, the 10,000 characters behind Gao Tianyuan's 8 million gods can be removed. Are you going to declare war on our Gao Tianyuan? After hearing this, the strong man in spirit Susanoo frowned, and a murderous aura as deep as a prison suddenly burst out from his body. Although he is afraid of Chuzi, it does not mean that he is afraid. Now seeing that Chuzi didn't even give him this bit of face, Susanoo was really angry. Oh, such a terrifying murderous aura, I'm so scared. Chuzi, whose hair flew back due to Susanoo's murderous aura, raised his finger, and the power gem suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. Buzz. In an instant, Susanoo felt an indescribable force fall from the sky, pressing directly on his body. He didn't even react before he was directly pressed to the ground by the force. Although he was just kneeling on his knees, the terrifying power was still transmitted to the ground along Susanoo's knees. Boom. Amidst the violent tremors, a huge crater with a depth of 100 meters and an area of more than 1,000 meters appeared. In the middle of the huge pit, Susanoo knelt on his knees and let out a roar that shook the sky with his face turning green and red. July Devil, I'm going to kill you. If you can do it, just come. Suspended in midair, looking at Susanoo in the pit, Chuzi said with a mocking smile. Before you shout next time, please don't kneel down and shout. It's very lackluster. Die. Susanoo, who was brought to his knees by a mortal, has now lost his mind in anger. His whole body has expanded 100 times and turned into a giant with a height of 100 meters. He waved the giant sword in his hand that also grew in size and moved towards Chu. Z struck over. The boundless sword energy formed a huge pillar of light, covering the sky and rolling down. The scene was instantly transformed by Susanoo as if it was the end of the world, full of disaster and despair. Fancy. Facing the sword light that covered the sky and the sun, Chuzi calmly placed his hand on the handle of the sword at his waist. Let you see what a real slash is. Destroy them all. Destroy them all. The long sword was unsheathed, and the light was missed. With a burst of light distortion, the long knife in Chuzi's hand turned into a long sword and slashed out against the sword light that filled the sky. Whoosh! A piercing force shot up into the sky. He rushed towards Susanoo. Stab! Along with a sound like the cracking of brocade, the sword light released by Susanoo split it into 2 halves. The sword light that was divided into two halves disintegrated on the spot and disappeared into light fragments. The Jukin sword, which was also cut in half, and Susanoo's huge titan body were revealed at the back. No. Looking at the extra black sword marks on his body, Susanoo let out a desperate roar. He felt that his divine body suddenly began to disintegrate because of the wound. In just a few breaths, he shrunk from a high-spirited giant 100 feet tall to a rickety old man less than 2 meters tall. With his appearance now, even the god who knows him best would not be able to recognize this old guy who is old and seems to be about to enter the coffin in the next second. He is the majestic Susanoo. Puff! There was a muffled sound, and a sharp sword tip emerged from the back of the elderly Susanoo. What a pity. It seems that I am the only one to kill you in the end. Feeling the familiar destructive power from this long sword, Susanoo trembled his fingers and touched the back of Chuzi's right hand. You are the real god of destruction and destruction. I will hand over my throne to you. Remember to treat Gao Tianyuan well. Looking at the ancient mark on the back of Chuzi's hand, Susanoo revealed his surroundings and raised his mouth slightly. His body slowly turned into dust and disintegrated into pieces, disappearing with the wind. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Congratulations to Samsara Master Chuzi for receiving the world-class mark of the Warring States period Yomatan, Taikatsusa no Ome. Close black lens bracket. You gain the power. Kensu Susanoo no Ming. Open black lens bracket Kensu Susanoo no Ming close black lens bracket. Origin. Warring States period Demon Story. Quality. Legend Katakana middle dot superior. Effect 1. Divine power. Anyone in this country prays to you, and you will receive a share of the power of incense. The power of incense can be used to improve your own attributes, and can also be used to strengthen equipment, but once you accept the incense, you will be in harmony with the world. If causal entanglement occurs, you need to perform the relevant priestly duties, otherwise you will continue to become weaker. The jade dish of creation is immune to the effects of causal entanglement. Effect 2. Destruction and destruction. As the god of destruction and destruction, you possess the most powerful divine power of destruction and destruction. Your attacks will be associated with divinity and can cause divine damage to the target, within the scope of Gao Tianyuan. The phenomenon of destruction and destruction in all countries will enhance your divine power. Close black lens bracket. Effect 3. Ocean operation. Although you are not a professional Poseidon, your unborn talent can still allow you to control the sea to a certain extent. Close black lens bracket. Effect 4. Sanguizi. As one of the 3 noblest gods, you have the ability to dominate other gods in Takamagahara. Explanation. Since we can't defeat you, let us make you one of ours, Susanoo. Ding. It is detected that you have a great bond with this world. This world will become your exclusive world, and all other reincarnations will be expelled. Ding. You can consume meritorious deeds to recruit any being in this world whose level is lower than yours to become your servant. Speechless, he looked at the prompts that popped up in the reincarnation brand. Chuzi only felt that he really couldn't keep up with Susanoo's sexy moves. This dick god didn't choose to retaliate against himself after being FK'd to death, but instead gave his divine power to himself. What is this? If you can't beat the opponent, should you let the opponent become your teammate? You really show off. I'm so damn convinced. Chuzi had to admit that Susanoo's approach really hit his weak point. For him, when dealing with enemies, he can ignore whether they are male or female, old or young, and directly use violence to kill them all. But if such a role is replaced by his own subordinates, the first thing he will consider is how to let these guys create more value for himself. It is absolutely not acceptable to use it for killing. Because according to the rules of the Lord God, you will not get any points after killing the aborigines of the same camp, and even the dropped equipment will become ownerless and cannot be certified. Then there is only one choice left. That is to select potential beings from these gods to become servants. Form a super-dimensional team. The problem has returned to its original point. It seems that the plan of the super-dimension team can be put on the agenda. As his eyes wandered, Chuzi saw Bishaman and Yato, who had been standing there without taking any action since just now, with a smile on his face. You two, come here. After looking at each other speechlessly, Yato and Bishaman walked forward obediently. At the same time that Chuzi obtained the divine power of Susanoo, his divine power had already risen like hell. That is the unique power of the highest God. As long as the land is shrouded in Gao Tianyuan, the majesty of God will always shine. The people who feel the most profound about this majesty are not humans, demons, or undead, but the other 8 million gods who are also gods. Just like now, Bishamon hated Chuzi to death, but after hearing his order, he still had to come up and kneel in front of him respectfully. Susanoo no Ming. Ming is a respectful name for the gods. But under normal circumstances, there is no need to call each other this way between gods. However, Susanoo is one of the supreme 3 noble sons. Even if it is a god, he needs to add honorifics to his title. I see anger and dissatisfaction in your eyes. Raising his hand, he grabbed Bishamon's chin and raised her face. Chuzi looked at the anger in her eyes and grinned. Is it because of the tiger? Raising his left hand, Chuzi snapped his fingers. Looking at the fact that you are now my subordinate, I will give you a chance. As if time was being retraced, the white tiger that was blasted into pieces by Chuzi suddenly came together from scratch, and finally transformed into a complete state and appeared at the scene. Bai Hu looked at the gods at the scene, his big tiger face was full of confusion. The next second, in a flash of light, the white tiger transformed into an old woman, kneeling behind Bishamon fearfully. Susanoo no Ming, please. As Bishamon's artifact, she also possesses a certain amount of divine perception. It is precisely because of this that she knows that the July demon who just defeated her has now become Susanoo, something outrageous. How did you do it? Feeling the connection with Doma again, Bishamon's eyes widened in surprise. She just clearly felt that Dao Ma had been completely destroyed physically and mentally. But this July demon was actually able to resurrect the artifact that was destroyed in form and spirit. This kind of nonsense cannot even be accomplished by the creator god of heaven. Bishamon felt that he could no longer understand the male god in front of him. The July demon is omnipotent. Although he has obtained the divine power of Susanoo, Chuzi has never thought of showing off his power in this small place. To him, the world is an expendable barracks. There is no value of staying. With the jade disk of creation, he will not have any causal entanglement with this world. He did not plan to inhale the harvested faith into his body, but planned to use it as a consumable so as not to disturb his pure original power. So now he still calls himself July Demon, not Susanoo. From today on, you two will become my followers. Letting go of Bishamon's chin, Chuzi stood up and said to the two of them. As commanded. After hearing this, Bishamon didn't feel much, but Yato was overjoyed. As a destitute god born from one man's wish, the incense he possesses is pitiful. But even so, he will still practice his skills to such an extent. This shows how powerful this guy's talent is. Now that he is accepted as a follower by Chuzi, he will enjoy the lingering influence of Susanoo, and his strength will be greatly enhanced. It seems that you are still entangled with a rather troublesome curse. Let me help you get rid of it first. Rubbing his chin, looking at the lines of cause and effect connected to Yato through the perspective of a god, Chuzi raised his left hand with the infinity gauntlet and grabbed it. Susanoo couldn't do this, and Chuzi couldn't do it either. But the infinity gauntlet, an awesome artifact, can do it. Of course, the jade disk of good fortune can also do it. But the jade dish of creation that resides in the depths of Chuzi's sea of consciousness only protects Chuzi and doesn't care about anything else. Chuzi was helpless about this matter. Snapped. With a crisp sound, the thread of cause and effect connected to Yato was directly torn off by Chuzi. As this line of cause and effect breaks, in a residential house far away in the other side of the country, a brush exuding evil energy suddenly trembled, then cracked with dense cracks, and collapsed on the spot into fragments all over the sky. Nuo Lihao. Impossible. In a private house, a man in monk's clothing looked at the broken brush and screamed in disbelief. As a sorcerer, he fully understands how noble this brush called, the language of underworld, is. It was a special prop made by Izanami, queen of the underworld, an artifact that could give names to gods. Today this artifact actually broke. How could he not be shocked? How could he not be afraid? However, in the next second, a ray of light rose from the fragments of the brush, turning into a phantom of a god with a serious face. The god glanced indifferently at the warlock below, then raised the long knife in his hand and split it in half on the spot. Blood splattered. The warlock who relied on the words of Wonquan to act recklessly paid the penalty on the spot. The phantom of the god that ended his life turned into light fragments and disappeared in a flash. Open black lens bracket transmission completed. Close black lens bracket. Welcome the reincarnator Chuzi to return to the main god town of China number 09. Close black lens bracket. Still familiar reminders, still familiar scenery. After experiencing the feeling of becoming a god in the world of warring states demons, Chuzi returned to the main god town. Looking at the busy reincarnations around him, a smile appeared on Chuzi's face. It's still good. Opening the reincarnation brand, Chuzi checked the evaluation he had received in this world. Main mission. Demon enters Fuso, completed. Close black lens bracket. Rating obtained. SSS defeated Inuyasha, defeated Sesshomaru, killed Dragon Bone Spirit, defeated Anbei Seimei, Miyamoto Musashi, killed Slippery Ghost, killed Yamata no Orochi, defeated Bishamon, Yato, killed Susanoo Male, close black lens bracket. Acquire the power of Susanoo God and increase your score. SSS right pointing arrow SSS plus. Congratulations on getting the final score, SSS plus. Points earned, 250,000. Good. Looking at the SSS plus score he received again, Chuzi nodded with satisfaction. The world of warring states demons was almost turned upside down by him. There's nothing surprising about getting an SSS plus rating. Except the score gets 310. Chuzi's points also exceeded the 1 million mark. Reached as many as 1.3 million. I don't know if Yao Yu is back. I have gained so much that I naturally want to share it with my family. Since Yao Yu became a reincarnator, Chuzi has regarded her as her family and lover in this world. Taking out the communicator, Chuzi connected the other party's number. After 2 busy beeps, the other person answered the phone. Came back. Well, I'm back. I'm at home. Well, I'll go back right now. I'm waiting for you. Country. Hey. Grinning, Chuzi left Samsara Square in a happy mood, clenching his fists and disappearing. The strength reaches Samsung. He's ready for a wave. With his current strength, combined with the weird equipment on his body, he can give it a go even if he encounters the strongest 5-star reincarnator in the world. Therefore, he no longer needs to carefully calculate and keep a low profile. Whoosh. The figure flashed. Chuzi appeared again and had come downstairs. Several reincarnations who also lived here looked surprised when they saw Chuzi suddenly appearing. Brother, you're so awesome. You're so good at using space teleportation skills. Why are you so stupid? The friend who spoke was dressed in a magician's attire, and his body was radiant, like a big light bulb. However, Chuzi heard sour envy and jealousy from his words, which was like a lemon, making people happy. I have no choice. If a person is strong to a certain extent, he just doesn't like to waste time on the road. I am also helpless. Everyone likes pretentious things like appearing holy in front of others. Especially when you know that your own strength is enough to crush others. If you don't show off, your strength will be wasted for a week. You're arrogant enough. I like it. In exchange for the communication number, we can go on an adventure together in the reincarnation world in the future. Although the magician brothers can't stand Chuzi's pretentiousness, they can't deny that this guy who can teleport through space in a playful way is not a mortal. For such a character, the best way is to make friends, not enemies. He suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart and said with a smile. Forget it, I don't like teaming up with others. I have no interest in the magician Chuzi at all. He is just a passerby who chats casually, and the relationship only ends with a few words. Exchange communication numbers. Non-existent. That's such a shame. Seeing this, the magician raised his eyebrows, a flash of anger flashed in his eyes, but he didn't say anything harsh. BDCJ. A normal person would not do this stupid thing of saying harsh words in front of others. Compared to foolishly looking for trouble head-on, everyone prefers to make trouble in secret. Per capita old yin ratio. This is the normal state of reincarnations. He kept this matter in mind and decided to let Chuzi know how wrong his choice today was once he met Chuzi in the reincarnation copy. Chuzi doesn't know what the magician thinks. It doesn't matter even if you know. For him, magicians can only be regarded as mid-range helpers among 3-star reincarnations. He can kill a group of them with just a snap of his fingers, so he doesn't have to worry about it at all. Sitting on the special teleporter, Chu came to the room. He saw Yao Yu, who was wearing furniture clothes, busy in the kitchen. Go sit down, the food will be ready soon. The breath vibrated, and Yao Yu also noticed Chu Zi. She turned around, smiled, and greeted her like an old couple. Good. Seeing her like this, Chuba was shocked. He likes this warm and homey feeling. It can completely relax his nerves, put down all the burdens on his heart and body, and have a good rest. Yao Yu didn't let Chu Zi wait long before she finished preparing a table of meals. Squirrel mandarin fish, stir-fried green beans, stir-fried rapeseed, pickled pork elbow, braised prawns, pork ribs and radish soup. Finally add a small bucket of rice. There is no bells and whistles, but it makes Chu Zi move his index finger. It smells so good. After taking the rice that Yao Yu served for herself in a sea bowl, Chu Zi closed his eyes and took a sip, and asked curiously. Yao Yu, when did you learn to cook? But Chu Zi knew that as the master of Yiwa Palace, he had to live in Japan with food and clothing. Things like cooking are very far away for her. I bought it on the exchange. I thought it was quite cheap for 500 points. How about it? Does it taste good? Yao Yu, who also filled a large bowl for herself, picked up a large shrimp, shattered all the shrimp shells with a shake of her wrist, and then put the shrimp meat in Chu Zi's bowl. Yeah, delicious. After taking a few mouthfuls of rice, she picked up a piece of rice and put it in Yao Yu's bowl and said with a smile. You should also eat more. As a child of Zhonghu, although Yao Yu looks aloof and like a fairy, her appetite is no less than that of Chu Zi, and she is a big eater. The two of them were chatting and eating, and unknowingly they finished the food on the table, which was enough to feed 4 big men. After eating and drinking, the two of them chatted and laughed, washed the dishes, and watched a movie. Then he got into bed and began the long-lost tenderness. After a few days of warmth, Chu Zi was a little happy and reluctant to miss Shu. But these leisurely days must come to an end. On this day, it was time for Yao Yu to undergo the reincarnation trial again. Be careful. In Samsara Square, Chu Zi looked at Yao Yu, who suddenly disappeared, and narrowed his eyes slightly. Then it's time for me to set off. Obtained an exclusive plane, and now Chu Zi's demand for merit has increased. If he wants to become a super-dimensional legion, he must have enough meritorious deeds. In addition to establishing a super-dimensional army, improving one's own strength is also an indispensable link. The points earned are enough to turn your training room into a small paradise. Chu Zi plans to go to the outside world first and spend a month to earn meritorious service and upgrade his military rank. The rest of the time was spent on cultivation, striving to understand several other elements of Hunyuan's true nature. Finally, I took a walk around the trading place to see if there were any good goods to buy. With a thought, Chu Zi directly chose to teleport to the outside world. Change of sight, he has arrived. In fortress number 98. But as soon as he was teleported in, he felt the earth tremble. There was also a deafening loud clicking sound in my ears. New guy, get out of there. The anxious voice came a little late. At this time, the transparent skylight above Chu Zi's head had been blasted open. An abyss creature over 20 meters tall, with an 8-legged spider on its lower body and a 4-armed orangutan on its upper body smashed into Chu Zi with a bang. Z is on the ground not far away. It's over. Seeing this scene, the man who shouted the warning turned around and ran away. Because he knew that facing this night-level abyss monster, which was the strongest on the first floor, this little-known hapless guy would have no chance of survival. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket random mission starts, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket fortress defense battle close black lens bracket. Task description. 100 night-level abyss monsters, led by 10 night-level abyss demons, will protect the core of fortress number 97 where you are from being breached by the abyss monsters in external fortresses 1 to 100 until the advanced World Guard Army arrival. Close black lens bracket. Task reward. 300 merit points will be awarded for persisting until reinforcements arrive, and 1,500 merit points will be awarded for killing the night-level abyss monster. Close black lens bracket. Tip. More than 70 external fortresses have fallen, and the external areas of China will be eroded by the deep abyss. The strength of all abyss monsters will be increased by 300%, and the merit acquisition will be minus 50%. 1. Seeing the blood-red prompt popping up in the reincarnation mark, Chuzi raised his head. The orangutan spider in front of him was rushing towards him with its 8 huge spider legs with sharp bristles. Just when the orangutan spider was nearly 100 meters away from Chuzi, he suddenly made a stomach-churning movement. It shows that the mouth is closed, the nostrils are widened, and the strong chest muscles are swollen due to this action. Then he bulged his mouth and squirted hard. A sticky substance exuding purple weapons hit Chuzi like a cannonball. Faced with such a disgusting attack, Chuzi's face turned green. There were veins bulging on his forehead, and murderous intent bloomed in his eyes. The orangutan has been sentenced to death in his heart. This disgusting thing must die today. Even the gods can't save him. Puff! This thing that looked like thick phlegm suddenly exploded in midair and turned into a huge spider web that covered half of the hall. The edge of the spider web touched the ground, corroding the ground with charred black marks that emitted white smoke. In addition to Chuzi, there are several unlucky people within the scope of the spider web. They looked at the spider web that almost blocked their sight, and they could only pour their strongest attacks on the spider web in an attempt to break it. Unfortunately, this spider web not only possesses terrifying corrosive poison. Please give me flowers. It must have strong physical resistance and energy absorption properties. After enduring an attack, not only was this spider web not damaged at all, but it was even tougher and thicker, hitting everyone in the square. Quack! Seeing this scene, the poisonous spider King Kong orangutan spider burst out with a strange laugh. He seemed to have seen the image of these little human bugs being bound and dissolved by their own poisonous webs. What are you laughing at? The cold voice remembered in his ears, and the poisonous spider King Kong felt that there was an extra thing on his head, but before he could react, he knew what was going on. He felt a pain in his head. Then a terrifying wave of heat hit. The next second, it lost all consciousness. Boom! Countless red cracks lit up the body of the poisonous spider King Kong, whose head was penetrated, and expanding waves of fire spurted out from its 7 orifices and the joints of the spider's body. It only took a moment. This night-level abyss monster that could rival a 4-star reincarnation was burned into a piece of black charcoal. As Chuzi jumped down, his body collapsed into black ash, proving that he had been there. Kill the poisonous spider King Kong and obtain merit points, 100 points. Close black lens bracket. Complete random tasks and obtain merit points, 1500 points. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Ding. Close black lens bracket. It has been detected that you have superstandard combat power. A special mission has been released. Open black lens bracket. Rush to the rescue. Close black lens bracket. Mission description. The current situation of other external fortresses is not optimistic. Due to the sudden incident, some high-level world guards were unable to return in time. Please go to nearby fortresses for support. Task reward. Each time you defend the next fort, you will receive 2000 merit points. Close black lens bracket. Development of maps for the whole region of China. The second-level Abyss World Teleportation function is now open. The second Lieutenant-level Core God Store is open. Then, let's go. Without any hesitation, Chuzi accepted the task directly. Although he likes to be alone, he is selfish. You are not a good person when you think of yourself. But he has not forgotten that he is still a Chinese. Even in this world where all people are reincarnated, China is in trouble now. As a Chinese reincarnator with ability, strength and time. Save China. He is obliged to do so. Certainly. It can't be free. The price offered by the Lord God is very kind. Chuzi is also full of energy. Especially after he saw the second lieutenant level mall, he even said that I would guarantee these 100 fortresses. Clench your left fist. The light flickers. Chuzi's figure has disappeared. That young man just now must have used the 323 power of the fire system. When did such a character appear in our number 98 fortress? The one who spoke was the brother who had just warned Chuzi. He looked at the poisonous spider King Kong that was burned to ashes and couldn't help showing a shocked expression. Different from the 1-star and 2-star reincarnations in the bad streets. 3-star reincarnations are the backbone of this world. In every main god town, there are countless 3-star reincarnations. And because it is more difficult to rise to the stars, people often go to the outside world and complete real-life tasks to earn merit and increase their strength. So everyone is familiar with it. But Chuzi's face has never been seen by Yinjia. Because he has only been to the outside world once. And he only stayed in the outside world for one day. Only Han Mo and a limited number of people knew him. Unfortunately, these people happened to be absent. I don't know, but his knife looks familiar. I seem to have seen it in the world of death. Another man wearing a Death Tyrant outfit rubbed his chin and said with some uncertainty. It's a bit like Yamamoto Genryu Sai Shigekuni's Rukin Wakahara. Are you kidding? After listening to this person's words, everyone present burst out laughing. Old Man Yamamoto is a character that can only be defended by a top 4-star boss, and his Zanpakuto will disappear directly with his death, making it impossible to authenticate. You actually said that the kid is holding a sword like a fire. Look, the joke is really cold. Maybe I saw it wrong. The man dressed as a dead bully frowned and sighed. He was sure he saw it right. But the fact that 3-star reincarnations have weapons that even 4-star bosses can't get is really nonsense. Therefore, he was not sure whether the knife he saw was really as sharp as fire. But he was certain of one thing. The young man's firepower was really powerful, and he was able to directly burn the night-level abyss monster into ashes. That alone. This means that he has half of his foot in the 4-star level. As long as there are no accidents, China will once again have one more 4-star boss. It's true that a hero comes from a boy. Thinking of this, the man pretending to be a dead bully was a little emotional, a little envious, but more of a happy person. Because he knows how lucky he is to have a 4-star boss protecting him within his own survival range. Buzz. The light flashed continuously. Chuzi crossed one space wormhole after another, constantly adjusting his position, and quickly approached number 99 External Fortress. The reason for choosing this fort. The reason is simple. On the map, the fortress icon has been transformed into a dark red and black color. This means that this fortress is in danger and will soon be breached by the beasts of the abyss. It took such a short time to penetrate into the depths of the fortress. Anyone can guess that attacking the abyss monster in this fortress is not easy. And Chuzi just likes to fight with such extraordinary opponents. Buzz. The light shines again. Chuzi reappeared outside an outside fortress. On the thick metal walls of this fortress, there is a large number, 99, spray-painted. It's just that this fortress is a bit miserable now. A large hole was blown into the outer wall, and the torn corpses of reincarnators were scattered everywhere. An abyss beast that looks a bit like a jackal, but has an exoskeleton armor on its head, is gnawing at these corpses. However, when they discovered Chuzi coming out of the space wormhole, they all stopped their movements and rushed towards Chuzi with bared teeth. Ouch! Facing the attacks from these guys, Chuzi only did one thing. Raise your left hand, middle finger and thumb interlocked. Then a pinch, snapped. A crisp and sweet sound of finger snaps sounded. These jackals exploded into bursts of ashes in midair. Kill the wasteland demon dog and get 5 points of merit. Close black lens bracket. This prompt jumped out at a bunch. Chuzi didn't care. All his attention was now focused on the interior of fortress number 99. There, he felt 2 powerful auras. The aura was comparable to the poisonous spider King Kong he killed, savage and violent, full of bestial cruelty. The other aura is even more powerful, cold, powerful and full of cunning and cunning. It's great luck. Feeling so, Chuzi narrowed his eyes and showed a wild smile. He knew that the owner of that aura was one of the 10 night-level abyss demons leading the team. Let me see how strong the night-level abyss demon is. Chuzi did not rush in, but took a deep breath and suddenly released his restrained momentum. Boom! The atmosphere trembled. The invisible momentum actually formed a substantial aura at this moment. This aura hovers like a dragon and rises into the sky. Spider web-like cracks appeared on the ground, spreading in all directions. Just as Chuzi released his momentum. Inside fortress number 99. A figure riding a giant earth-moving dragon and carrying a dragon gun with a spiral blade suddenly stopped stabbing the last reincarnator for 5.1 seconds and slowly turned his head. The strong man of mankind. Abyssal language. Kill. Abyssal language. There was a loud shout. The figure wearing heavy black armor and a full-face helmet with horns on his head suddenly pulled the heavy chain in his hand. He forcibly pulled the giant earth-moving dragon that wanted to swallow the last reincarnation into its belly and turned it around. Roar. The earthly dragon roared in dissatisfaction as the delicious food in his mouth was missed. But the next second, its roar turned into a scream. The abyss demon sitting on its back squeezed its legs hard, almost breaking its vertebrae. Charge. Abyssal language. After receiving the lesson, Dixinglong heard the master's order behind him again. He dared not shout a single word, lowered his head, and rushed towards the door angrily. Coming. Outside the fortress, Chuzi suddenly raised his head and stretched out his left hand. At the same time as his arm stretched out, a purple-black drill like a horizontal tornado broke through the solid wall of the fortress and rushed towards Chuzi. The tip of this drill bit hit the infinity gauntlet on Chuzi's left hand. Sizzle. The huge force was released, causing the ground under Chuzi's feet to wrinkle and crack like rags, and countless gravels shot out into the air. But Chuzi, who suffered such a heavy blow, did not retreat even a step. He felt the continuous force coming from the purple-black diamond and snorted coldly. Chi and blood circulated, and the muscles on the arms bulged like dragon elephants. The infinite power shocked the void and made the air tremble. As his power was released, the power gem of the infinity gauntlet in his hand simultaneously lit up with a bright light. At the same time as this light lit up, the jade dish of creation in Chuzi's sea of consciousness also lit up. At the core of the jade dish, an extraordinarily large Tao principal star. As if being stimulated, he woke up from his deep sleep and lazily released a wave of waves. It contains the purest, highest and most powerful artistic conception. The core of this artistic conception is simple. Force. The supreme power to suppress all enemies. Advance can open up the heaven and earth, retreat can transform the avenue of power into all things. The ripples of this avenue of power penetrated the blockade of the jade dish of creation. Plunged into the sea of consciousness of Chuzi. Taking the sea of consciousness as the base point, it radiates towards Chuzi's whole body. In an instant, Chuzi's whole body's muscles and bones roared in unison. Every cell is changing, becoming stronger, more tenacious, and more magical. Each cell turned into small star seeds, constantly swallowing endless strength. At the same time as these star seeds appear, endless suction is generated. With Chuzi as the center, it radiates in all directions and expands to a distance invisible to the naked eye. Cell stars began to operate one by one. The air is filled with the vitality of heaven and earth mixed with the magic power of the abyss. Anyone who comes is sucked into Chuzi's body. These abyssal demonic energies can pollute and twist people into abyssal species. However, it cannot cause any harm to Chuzi's star cells. Instead, it is like high-quality fertilizer, easily absorbed and digested by these star cells. Squeak. At this time, Chuzi had forgotten that he was still fighting against the night-level abyss demon. In other words, such a trivial matter is not worth his distraction at all. He is comprehending the path of strength. With a simple contraction of his fingers, he broke through the magic drill of the abyss knight and kneaded his dragon spear into a discus-like dough. Gudong. Swallowing hard, Soj panicked. He never thought that this human being was releasing an aura that was different from his just now. Why did it suddenly seem to have mutated? Directly released a suction force field that only the Archduke of the Abyss has the ability to release. It sucks up all the nearby energy on the spot. Let this place enter an energy vacuum environment. In this environment, even the night-level abyss demon is like a living fish on the beach. The entire demon was in a state of suffocation. As for the abyss dragon he sat down on, it was even worse. Now he is lying on the ground, his whole body is constantly overflowing with purple and black magic power, and he is running wildly on the road to exhaustion and death. Energy vacuum. An environment that can be described as deadly to creatures with energy. This environment constantly prevents these creatures from absorbing the slightest bit of energy in the air. Instead, due to the reverse pressure generated by the surrounding energy void, the energy in the body continues to overflow. Until death. Kill. Feeling that although the body is struggling to contain it, there is still a trace of overflowing abyss magic. Soj looked up at Chuzi, who was standing there, with a fierce look in his eyes. After this period of observation, he found that the human being who emitted the suction force field seemed to have entered some deep state of consciousness immersion. Creatures in this state have no perception of changes in the outside world. In other words, even if he is attacked now, he will not resist. As a member of the Abyss Invaders, Sog would naturally not let go of this opportunity. Samsaras who can awaken the absorbing force field have the potential to grow into powerful enemies. The Abyssal Plane has never given up hunting this kind of enemy seed powerhouse. If you can kill such a being. Sog believed that the rewards he could obtain were enough to upgrade his status from knight to baron. Die. Throwing away the distorted dragon spear, he pulled out the long sword made of black magic crystal from his waist. Soj summoned up all his strength and struck Chuzi in the head with his sword. He did not use the abyss magic power to amplify this slash. Because using energy attacks in an energy vacuum environment is a complete waste of magic power. He just used the most primitive and powerful wrist strength to complete this slash. The heavy long sword brought with it a gust of wind, blowing 2 churning waves of earth away from the ground. Chuzi, who was under the sword blade, looked motionless and motionless. Succeeded. Seeing this, Sog smiled excitedly, and the muscles of his thick arms swelled again, and he struck Chuzi's head heavily with the long sword. When the huge impact was deafening. In the splashing sparks, Sog's black magic crystal sword broke into 2 pieces and flew out spinning. Soj, who was bleeding from the shock to his hands and jaws, looked at Chuzi who had a white mark on his forehead. The entire demon's outlook was shattered into dregs as the sword broke. He couldn't understand it. How could a human have such physical strength without magic? You hurt me. He raised his hand and touched his forehead, feeling a trace of pain. There were veins on Chuzi's forehead. What a great opportunity for enlightenment. He was actually interrupted by this damn abyss demon. Now Chuzi wants to crush him to ashes. Die. Clench your fist and punch out. The terrifying force exploded, twisting the void. The 4 elements of earth, water, fire and wind were looming and bombarded Soj's body. Boom. The power of catharsis turned into a tsunami-like madness, surging out and plowing a huge trench with no visible edges on the earth. And Sog, who was hit, was naturally too dead to die. Not even the dregs of the corpse were left. After venting his anger, Chuzi felt that his boiling and burning star cells gradually calmed down and entered a stable state of recuperation. Ah! He opened his mouth and exhaled a breath of sword, piercing a bottomless pit on the ground. Chuzi felt his surging power gradually dying down. Look up to the sky. At this time, the whole sky was turbulent. The swirling clouds are spreading, and from time to time there will be thick electric lights flashing in the surging wind. This is a phenomenon caused by the return flow of the vital energy of heaven and earth. When Chuzi was comprehending the law of power just now, he spontaneously swallowed up all the vitality of heaven and earth in the vicinity, creating an energy vacuum. Now that he has regained consciousness, he has also stopped this uncontrolled and crazy absorption. The energy around him has returned, causing this change in the weather. Then, the next step is to help other fortresses. After killing Sog, I obtained 6,500 merit points. 2,000 of them are obtained by completing guard tasks. The remaining 4,500 points were contributed by Sog and his Mount Abyss Earth Dragon. It may be said that these 2 guys are not very strong, but they have made a lot of achievements. Now Chuzi's total achievements are close to 5 figures. Opening the map, Chuzi checked the status of other forts. He suddenly sent a message. On the map where red dots were originally everywhere, all the red dots were quickly fading away. There are also many red dots that have been converted to green safety status. It came so fast. Seeing this situation, Chuzi knew that reinforcements had arrived. Pity. Shaking his head, Chuzi knew that his plan to earn meritorious deeds came to an end. But the merits I have now are enough for the time being. Let's go. The light flickered, and Ming returned to Fortress number 98 through the space wormhole. At this time, we are in Fortress number 98. 2 familiar figures were in the hall again. One of them is Hanmo and the other is Yu Qingya. In front of them, the brother who warned him was reporting to them about Chuzi. It's him. Seeing the virtual image of Chuzi posted by the other party, Yu Qingya showed an unexpected expression. What? Bai Huang, you know him? Hanmo raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Yu Qingya. He also recognized Chuzi and was extremely horrified. But he didn't expect that this famous 4-star Bai Huang also knew Chuzi. This surprised him. Well, we met once. Yu Qingye nodded and wrote lightly. Is it just a one-time relationship? That's great. In that case, you should have no problem with me recruiting this little brother. When Han Mo heard this, he laughed. Haha, if you can do it, it's up to you. Yu Qingye smiled lightly, not caring at all. She investigated Chuzi. I know he is a complete lone wolf reincarnation type. Wanting such reincarnations to join is completely idiotic and has no possibility at all. The only way to deal with such reincarnations is through transactions and friendship. Whoosh! The space shook slightly. Chuzi's figure appeared in the fortress. His appearance immediately attracted the attention of Yu Qingye and Han Mo. When the two saw him, they both showed friendly smiles. Welcome our hero back, thank you for saving fortress number 98, Brother Chu. Han Mo smiled heartily and stretched out his fist towards Chuzi. Everyone who has the ability will do this kind of thing. Chuzi also stretched out his fist and bumped with him. Chuzi nodded and looked to the other side, where Yu Qingye was nodding to him. Looking at her face that was almost the same as Yu Qingmei's, Chuzi understood clearly. If nothing unexpected happened to the other party, he should have a close blood relationship with Yu Qingmei. Be ambitious, Brother Chu. I heard that you don't have a team yet. I wonder if you are interested in joining my team. As long as you join, I am willing to give you the position of deputy leader. Han Mo was very enthusiastic, but unfortunately Chuzi was not interested in his proposal at all. As not to mention the deputy captain, even if he gave up the captain's seat, Chuzi would not take it. Someone else's team is someone else's team after all. Chuzi's goal is to build his own team, his own super-dimensional team. I'm sorry, I agree with you, but I'm used to being free-spirited and don't want to join any team. It's such a pity, but it doesn't matter. Brother Chu can contact me anytime and anywhere if he wants. I will always leave this seat to you. Han Mo frowned slightly, feeling a little unhappy. However, his boss did not let him show his unhappiness, but nodded cheerfully with a look of regret. He nodded with a smile. Chuzi's senses still felt his dissatisfaction, but he also said nothing and turned towards Yu Qingye. Hello, my name is Jin Yu Qingye, Qingmei is my sister. I didn't expect you to be so strong in just such a short time. Looking Chuzi up and down, Yu Qingye smiled meaningfully. My sister has really good taste. After hearing this, feeling the ambiguity in Yu Qingye's eyes, Chu Manto asked. Why does this involve your sister again? I'm not familiar with her. Hey, don't think too much, I just said casually, I won't get involved in your young affairs. Seeing Chuzi like this, Yu Qingye smiled heartily, patted his shoulder and gave him a thumbs up. Remember, boys should take the initiative. The corners of Chuzi's eyes twitched, and Chuzi looked at Yu Qingye who was smiling brightly and didn't know how to talk to her. In the end, he could only laugh and run away in embarrassment, temporarily getting away from this unscrupulous old lady who was selling his younger sister. After leaving the hall, he came to the interior of the fortress. Here, many reincarnations are busy Zhao Nuo repairing the damaged fortress. Most of these reincarnations are reincarnations enhanced by technology and weapon refining. They accept real-life tasks and receive relevant materials from the Lord God. While repairing the fortress, you can hone your skills and earn meritorious deeds. When they saw Chuzi walking in, they all showed kind smiles and nodded to him. Because of Chuzi's strong attack, the fortress avoided the danger of being breached. Everyone is grateful to him. Coupled with the strength shown by Chuzi, everyone doesn't mind getting along with such a strong man. In this rare harmonious atmosphere, Chuzi came to the interior of the fortress. There is a small light group suspended here. This is the core of the fortress, and it is also the avatar of the core god. Here, reincarnators can be promoted to military rank, and they can also use their merit to purchase special products in the Merit Mall. Welcome the 3-star reincarnation. Chuzi, using the core god Z, clone number 98. Close black lens bracket. Please select the operation you need. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Lord God Mall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket military rank promotion close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket realistic tasks close black lens bracket. Promotion in military rank. As the eyes came into contact, the function options of the core god popped up. With a thought, Chuzi activated the function of military rank promotion. You have merit points. 9,450 points. Close black lens bracket. Your current military rank, private. Close black lens bracket. Can be promoted to sergeant. Total merit exceeds 5,000. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to advance? Close black lens bracket. Yes. With Chuzi's choice, the military rank badge on his collar flashed slightly, and in the center of the rattlesnake, there was a pair of crossed swords and a vague word, she. Open black lens bracket promotion completed. Close black lens bracket. Your current military rank, sergeant. You have obtained the permission to use the second level core mall. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained 100% extended permission to reside in the real world. Close black lens bracket. You have the permission to create a team. Close black lens bracket. You can recruit other reincarnations to join the team, and in the team you can enjoy extended real-world repair time, high-star team leadership, team-based discount purchases, etc. Close black lens bracket. Tip. More permissions will be obtained at higher military ranks. Close black lens bracket. I see. Seeing the prompt popping up on the core god, Chuzi's doubts were easily solved. No wonder that at the beginning, Lao Wang, who was obviously not a newcomer, was able to lead these rookies in the trial. No wonder the strongholds of those large teams are so huge. No wonder there are many reincarnations who are obviously unable to pass the difficult reincarnation trial and are still alive and have not been wiped out for completing the trial. It turns out that all the problems arise here. It seems that my decision to become a super-dimensional army was a wise choice. Rubbing his chin, Chuzi looked at the option to create a team that popped up on the core god, and directly chose to create it. Please name your BDCJ team. Close black lens bracket. Call it Hope. 1. Chuzi thought about it and decided to name his team after Wei Guangzheng. This name is already used by a team, please rename it. Close black lens bracket. The corner of his mouth twitched, leaving Chuzi speechless. I thought that the phenomenon of duplicate names only occurs when playing games. I didn't expect it to be found here. It's really troublesome. After learning that duplicate names cannot be used, Chuzi began to try various cool team names. Soon, he tried out a team name that no one was using. No one is using the name, Fantasy God. Should I use this name to name it? Close black lens bracket. Why? The Fantasy God team has been established. Close black lens bracket. Current level, 1 star. Close black lens bracket. Recruitable team members, 50. Close black lens bracket. Permissions obtained. Junior trial delay up to 100% extension. Junior high star team leader up to 2 stars and 1 star. Junior team base discount 55% off. Team star promotion conditions. There are more than 40 team members and a primary base. All team members must enter 1 star level and complete the star promotion task. Close black lens bracket. It is detected that the reincarnator has an exclusive plane, and the reincarnator can recruit team members through the exclusive plane. Close black lens bracket. Tip. Recruiting team members consumes 50% less merit. Close black lens bracket. Tip. Before recruiting team members, please obtain a team base. Close black lens bracket. What's the benefit? It's interesting. It can be seen from this prompt that the Lord God encourages the reincarnators to recruit dungeon characters to join the team. But Chuzi has been in this world for so long, and he has never seen a few dungeon characters join the main town. Or maybe I've already joined, but I don't know. Rubbing his chin, Chuzi nodded silently. It is unlikely that his reincarnated character will join the main town. After all, no one would refuse a powerful reincarnation character to join their camp. The reason why Chuzi didn't know was just because he came to the world for a short time and spent most of his time practicing in the training room. It is normal to not know enough about the secrets of this world. Interesting, it seems that I don't want to go back to the world of the Warring States period again. 3 gangs of men. Although Chuzi is a lone wolf, it does not mean that he does not need power. Sometimes, a person's ability is always limited. Not taking care of everything. This is when the role of his subordinates comes into play. I have a decision in my mind. Chuzi didn't waste any time, he teleported directly back to the Lord God town. The space gem is activated. Chuzi went directly to the house sales office. This time he wasn't here to upgrade his nest. Instead, prepare to build a base. Used to place your own reincarnation team members. Come to the vending machine. Use the reincarnation brand to open the machine and select the team base option. A series of choices popped up. Seeing that the team base only had rental options, Chuzi raised his eyebrows. Interesting. Team bases are divided into 5 levels according to size. 300,000 points a year. 600,000 points per year. 1 million points a year. 5 million points a year. 10 million points a year. All bases have standard independent dormitories, training venues and recreational facilities. However, the higher the level of the team base, the more functional the various buildings are and the more special buildings it has. Chuzi looked at his points, directly chose the lowest level base and rented one. At present, his team is still the lowest level and has no members. For him, the high-level base is a complete waste. I handed over 100,000 points and paid 1 year's rent. Chuzi turned on the teleportation function and came to his base. This is a courtyard the size of a football field. There are walls around the courtyard, and there are several buildings scattered inside. These buildings are the functional buildings of this base. Not bad. Looking at the simple but not simple decoration style of this base, the greening has been quite good. Chuzi nodded with satisfaction. I believe that the subordinates I have recruited will like this environment. Then let's go. After understanding the status of his lair, Chuzi no longer wasted time and controlled the space gem to jump to Samsara Square. After consuming 10,000 points, Chuzi once again entered the world of War Country Monster Tan. Wait until he returns again. It's already 7 days later. But this time he didn't come back alone. There are 4 figures beside him. The blonde girl warrior god Bishamon. Yato, the young blue-eyed warrior god. Kikio, the strongest shrine maiden of the Warring States period. The strongest swordsman of the Warring States period succeeded Koku Yuichi. 2 gods, 2 people. Partners recruited by Chuzi. Needless to say, Bishamon and Yato. As Chuzi's followers, these 2 people agreed to his invitation on the spot. As for the recruitment of Kikio and Enichi Jigyu, it was a complete coincidence. Chuzi, who recruited Bishamon and Yato, and just left Takamagahara with them, encountered Kikio who was following Chuzi. For this resilient girl, Chuzi felt that she was a talent, so she recruited her. As for the reason, do gods need a reason to make requests to mortals? At least not for Kikio. As a Miko who has been trained as a Miko since she was a child. Fear God, obey God, and serve God. This is the meaning of her existence. Compared to these, even the matter of guarding the 4 souls jade has to be sidelined. The recruitment of Jigyu Enichi was completely coincidental. It was Chuzi who discovered this familiar name when he accidentally received the prayer. Afterwards, he followed his faith and found the target of his prayers. A ghost hunter of the Demon Slayer Corps of this era. Through this ghost hunter, Chuzi found Enichi Jigyu, who had completed the development of Breath of the Sun. It's easy in the end. Chuzi allowed this swordsman with natural markings and a transparent world to join his team at the cost of killing Muzan Kibutsuji. It was also to kill the cunning Anabatsuji Muzan. It took him so long to return. Let's go. Arriving at Samsara Square, Chuzi clenched his fist, activated the space gem, and several people disappeared into the space wormhole. I thought I saw Kikio just now. Although Chuzi and the others were inconspicuous in the huge Samsara Square, their return was still discovered by some nearby Samsara people. A reincarnator who looked at the direction Chuzi and others had just left, looking at the direction that Chuzi and others had just left, looked in disbelief. He is a 3-star reincarnation, and has also experienced the world of the Warring States period. It was precisely because of this that he knew how difficult it was for Kikio, an aboriginal of the Warring States period demon world, to get in touch with. This so-called strongest which not only possesses powerful and terrifying purifying spiritual power. He also has a rigid and indifferent personality. He is only interested in the 4-soul jade he protects, and is very indifferent to others. It is precisely because of this. So far, No reincarnator has been able to raise her favorability level to the friendly level. No one can raise their favorability level to the level of intimacy that allows for recruitment. Today, this powerful Miko in the Samsung world was actually recruited. No wonder this reincarnation man has such an expression. You didn't think so? Please give me flowers. After hearing this, another reincarnation person immediately became energetic. I am not sure. Shaking his head, the reincarnator hesitated. Then you said hammer. Let's go have a drink and relax. You see, you are so nervous that you are starting to hallucinate. Nonsense. Hearing his companion's words, the man laughed and cursed, suppressing everything he just saw in his heart. Whether Kikio was recruited or not, it had nothing to do with him. The only thing he cares about is how many points he can earn by selling this information. After all, the points obtained are the real benefits. Buzz. The light flickers. At this time, Chuzi had already arrived at the team base with 4 of his men. This will be your second home from now on. You can live and rest here on weekdays. If anyone is homesick and wants to go back and visit, you can also apply with me and I will take you back to visit relatives. Chuzi mainly said this to Jigyu Enichi and Kikio. As humans, they are worried that they will miss home, so they are given such benefits. As for Yato and Bishaman, their families are their artifacts. Now they have all been transformed into artifact forms and placed in their storage spaces. Okay. After hearing this, Kikio showed a smile. She also has a sister in the Warring States world, although she is tracking Chuzi and has arranged everything. But if there is a chance to visit relatives, she is still very happy. Thank you, sir. Ji Guiwan on the other side bowed slightly politely. Alright, follow me now, I'll take you to get familiar with this place. With the 4 of them, Chuzi explained everything about the training base, and then traded them 10,000 points each. Let them move freely. Then Chuzi left the team base. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.